580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Victory Monday. Another win for the Kansas City Chiefs over their in-division rival, the Los Angeles Chargers. K-State looked excellent against TCU. We will get to all of that coming up today here on this Victory edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for stopping by. Jake Levon, Brandon Rosinski, Dan Lucero with you. We got lots to cram into. We'll talk with Matt Verderame coming up a little bit earlier than normal due to some scheduling. We'll hear from Andy Reid, get you an update on Nick Bolton, talk NFL, talk Big 12, some big-time stuff happening in the Big 12 this weekend when it comes to injuries. So all sorts of stuff to get to on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. As always, let us know, how are you feeling? Give us your thoughts on our text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts there. You can hit us up on our YouTube page and our stream. Easy to get to. Go to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Search 580 Sports Talk. Hit the subscribe button. You can interact with us on our streaming page as well. So there's a lot of ways to interact with us. Get your opinion out there. You can check us out on Twitter at 580 Sports Talk. But so much to get to when it comes to the NFL, including the Kansas City Chiefs taking care of business against the Los Angeles Chargers. And for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, and even maybe the Andy Reid era, to be honest with you, that I now have the confidence when watching the Chiefs that the defense will get the stop and not the offense will get they'll get another score and make it a 2-score game, so we'll be good. Like, this is the first time where watching the games, I am way less stressed, more calm, because the Chiefs defense is not just going to automatically give up points like we have done in the past. And this was the first time that I can truly say, as a Chiefs fan here in the last 12 years, 10 years, or in the Andy Reid era, that when the Chiefs offense don't score, that I don't go, damn it, all right, it's going to be tied up. Chiefs are up by 7, right? Up by 7, start of the second half. All I thought was, wow, if we get a touchdown, this game's over. I go, if the Chiefs get a touchdown and go up 14, this game is over. But when they didn't, I never really truly was concerned, even if the Chiefs gave up 17 points in the first half. But the Chiefs defense now is on a level that almost not at the same inverse level on the offense, and they're just going to score at will. But this Chiefs defense now, to me, I just assumed they were going to get a stop. The question wasn't, is the defense going to get a stop? It was, and in the Patrick Mahomes era, we've never thought this. Oh, well, will the offense score to get it a 2-point game? No, this is an incredible effort by this defense. It really, really is. And in the first half, it was more the big play that caused the Chiefs defense to give up some points, but they don't normally give up the big play. They are very big play averse, and that is why in the second half, I felt just fine and wasn't going to freak out over that, because those big plays given up through at least 6 games was not the norm for the defense. That was the outlier, and it showed. Interception, punt, interception. That were the 5 possessions for the Charger defense. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's almost as if it's an inverse of 2018. Offense is going to score. I have that much confidence in this defense and how they will get it done, especially now when you add number 90 to the fold, and Charles Omenihu is going to be another one-man wrecking crew. Like, it's a weird situation to be in if you're a Chiefs fan right now.
So I'll push back on it being the inverse of 2018, because I don't think that gives nearly enough credit to this offense. Because, Like in 2018, it wasn't just you can't trust the defense. They were the worst in the league.
I was more so like I'm so much more confident in this defense.
You have a 2018 offense level of confidence in the 2020.
I do. Yeah, that's a disservice to
fair enough.
To this offense.
That's
I understood what you were getting.
Yeah. The offense is not, Bob Sutton bad right now. In fact, we'll talk more about the offense in a little bit. I just think that they're playing so well, and the addition of Amenu, now the subtraction of Nick Bolton for a little bit, does sting, and it hurts the depth. But that game was such a realization of how far this defense has come, but also just how good this defense is on all three levels. All three levels.
I think the next big thing, and this is a compliment to the Chiefs defense, and this is how I, at this point, certainly am going to view it going forward the rest of the season. It's no longer for me like, wow, this is a good defense. Like what they did, not necessarily allowing 0 points in a second half against the divisional opponent, but like, this isn't a good story anymore. Like this level of defense has been consistent for 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That is enough for me to say this is no longer, wow, how cool. No, this is what the Chiefs are. And if they aren't this, I'm going to feel like, why aren't they this anymore? And again, that's a compliment. Like that should be considered a compliment to the players, to the coaching staff, to the front office for putting this group together as currently constructed, because that's how well they have played. And I think we've played enough, and the Chiefs have faced enough good teams, or supposedly good teams. I've got a fun Justin Herbert fact for you coming up next segment, by the way. But they've played enough of these games that we should expect them to look this good. And there will be games where, this happens in football. This happens in the NFL. You can play well defensively and still give up 28 points like that. And that's how it works sometimes.
And you can be a good defense and get got. Look at the Browns giving up 38 to Gardner Minshew, the Colts.
Yeah, big time. So I think, though, that being this good or being good enough to carry you to a win should be the expectation going forward. And they've earned that. Like, that is I'm trying to think of which idiom I want or which cliche I want here. But, like, that pressure is a privilege. That's the one I'm thinking of. Like, to be at a point where you're expected to be that good, that is a compliment. That is a great thing that this defense has gotten there. And it's no longer just be average, like be mediocre and we'll be fine. The fact that they have gotten to this point is a huge credit to Spags and the entire defense. And now they just need to keep it up.
The defense playing at this level is what makes the Chiefs the best team in the NFL, which I think they are at this point, with respect to the Eagles, who put a nice win together last night against the Dolphins, with respect to the 49ers, who are probably going to go to 7-1 tonight against the Vikings. The Chiefs are the most complete team in the NFL. With the performance we saw yesterday, we saw the offense starting to get back on track, starting to look like we expected the Chiefs offense to look. And now, as you put it, Brendan, this is now the expectation for the Chiefs defense moving forward. Mm-hmm. Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com ranked the top defenses in the league, or what he believes at this point to be the top defenses in the league. And he ranked the Chiefs second in the NFL, behind only Cleveland. So as I mentioned, they gave up 38 to a backup quarterback on the road yesterday. So
that was more so they just we thought we'd cruise, and then kind of an avalanche hit him.
That's the league. That's the way it goes in this league. You're never perfect for 17, 18 weeks. But this was the number that jumped out and jumped off the page to me when I was reading Barnwell's article. And I'll read from the page now. The best sign of how dramatically the Chiefs have improved might be looking at how they perform when they don't get pressure. No team is good on defense when it doesn't get home, but Kansas City has been particularly brutal without pass pressure in recent seasons. When it comes to QBR, that's ESPN's proprietary quarterback rating number that ranks a quarterback performance from 1 to 100, essentially. It's not the old school, passer rating that starts at the baseline of 39.6 or whatever it is. QBR, 1 to 100. The Chiefs were dead last in QBR allowed without pressure last season. They had never ranked higher. They had only ranked higher than 22nd one time recently. So bottom third of the league when it comes to how you're defending the pass when the other team's offensive line wins the rep. When you don't get heat on the quarterback. They were the worst team in the league in pass defense when they didn't get pressure last year. They ranked second in QBR this year when they don't get pressure.
They won the damn Super Bowl last year despite being that stat, which is incredible.
Yes. And now this year, that is a testament to what they've got on the back end. Certainly the linebackers deserve some credit as well. I thought Willie Gay has played some really good football. Yeah. Nick Bolton, the injury's really disappointing, but Drew Tranquill has already stepped in and performed in that position. And like the gulf between what the Chiefs are getting from reserves at that position compared to like the Ben Niemans and Daniel Sorensens of the world, when you can plug a Drew Tranquill in for however long it's going to be, the Nick Bolton is going to be out. The improvement, the level of improvement there cannot be overstated. And the work of the secondary, there were a couple of tough reps for Brian Cook. He got beat pretty bad on that long Josh Palmer completion that set up the Chargers' second touchdown. He also had the game-sealing interception. Justin Reed.
He's been pretty good, though.
Yes, Justin Reed has played some really good football this season. We've talked about the cornerbacks at length, how well Snead has played, how well McDuffie has played. We've hardly talked about Jalen Watson and Josh Williams. That's pretty good. If you're not noticing CB3 and CB4, that's the way you want it. You want those guys to do their work in silence because that means they're not giving up those home runs, those big splash plays. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Chiefs are playing at this level in the secondary, even if they don't win with pressure, that shows you why they were able to be so good in the second half when they got the lead and they're playing from ahead and the other team has to throw the ball, and then you can get pressure. Then you can pin your ears back. That's when Charles Omenihu makes an impact. That's when Chris Jones makes his impact. That's when Mike Dana and George Karlaftis can pin their ears back and get that pressure that makes this defense rise to an even higher level. But you said it. All three levels of the defense deserve a ton of credit for what this group has become. And wouldn't you know, it's also the youngest starting defense by average age in the league. This is a scary, scary thought. How good they are right now, how good they're getting on a week-by-week basis, and how good they could be by the time December, January roll around.
Was this one of the best offenses that they've faced?
I mean, theoretically, like based on what people think they are, yeah.
Because the reason I say this is we do know that the offenses that they've gone up against, the Broncos offense isn't great. The Bears offense isn't great. They have gone up against a couple good offenses.
Detroit and Jacksonville have good offenses.
You know, and in Jacksonville at the time, they hadn't quite found their stride yet.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of that is, well, they hadn't found their stride yet because they went up against the Chiefs defense, you know, kind of the chicken or the egg. But they've shut down a lot of offenses right now. And that would be the only thing. If you look at some of the best offenses in the NFL, they have not played some of the best offenses in the NFL, but it's just a different feeling now when the defense goes out on the field. You don't have the, oh, woe is me. How are they going to give up a touchdown? Will the offense does the offense have to put up does the offense have to score? Because that was always the thing. When the offense was up by one score, right? Mm-hmm. When the offense was up 24-17 last year or 2 years ago or in 2020 or 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question was, all right, they're going to tie it. Now the offense has to go score again. That's not the situation anymore. And that's unique.
For reference, according to DVOA, the efficiency metric, and it includes this week's numbers.
Okay.
The Chargers are 8th in the NFL in offense. So, yeah, that's a darn good offense. And that would be the second best that the Chiefs have faced this year.
The Lions
one spot behind the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions would be the best.
Yeah.
So
the Jaguars, for what it's worth, they're 13th. So, yeah, I mean, they're still well in the top half.
Who are the top? Give me the top 5.
I bet you can guess number 1. You can probably guess most of them, honestly.
Lions, 49, or not Lions, Dolphins.
Dolphins are 1.
49ers.
2. Somewhat surprisingly, the Bills are still 3rd.
Okay.
The Chiefs are 4th, and the Ravens are 5th.
And they're gonna see 2 of those teams.
Yeah.
They're gonna see the Dolphins. They're gonna see the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll find out a little bit more about the Chiefs defense as well. That's what gosh, that's another thing. We think the Chiefs offense is just kind of getting there, right? And they're fourth.
Yeah, I mean, they're been
fourth.
The last 2 weeks, this game and the game against the Broncos, they have been legitimately good. Now, they didn't finish well against Denver, but they moved the ball almost at will in that game.
Yeah. Now, the big news that came out today, we'll hear from Andy Reid. The news came out after Andy Reid spoke, which, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. That was probably an embargo type of situation would be my guess. Andy Reid finished speaking, and then 5 minutes later, Tom Pelissero tweets out, Chiefs linebacker Nick Bolton will need surgery on his dislocated wrist and is expected to miss roughly 2 months.
Yeah, here's how that went down. Hey, Tom, Andy doesn't want to answer questions about this. We need 10 minutes.
I'm going to need you can drop this at 12:30 when he's done talking at 12:20. And Tom Pelissero says, deal. And so the next time we'll talk with Andy Reid will be Wednesday. At like 1 o'clock. So,
funny how that happened.
Kind of worked out like that. So Nick Bolton's going to need surgery. First of all, a dislocated wrist. Ouch. There are some reports that, like, this is one of the more painful injuries, a dislocated wrist.
I mean, he was writhing in pain.
And they say he was like yelling, screaming, like one of those type of deals.
Yeah.
So, out roughly 2 months. Okay. Not season ending, because the good news is Chiefs got the bye in this situation. But unfortunately, he's going to miss, the Dolphins game, which is a big loss in the Dolphins game.
Yeah.
Going to be out for the Bills game. Big loss for the Bills game. Honestly, if you want to look at the Chiefs' schedule, if we're talking 2 months, he could be back for the Raider game, but you don't really need him for the Raider game. And so that would be 8 weeks would be the Raider game, but then the very next week is the Bengals and then the Chargers, depending upon how the situation works. I mean, he's probably out. I would not rush this back. I wouldn't. I would make sure that Nick Bolton is good to go, because what matters more is the playoffs than, the Patriots or the Raiders when it comes to that. So it does hurt because the depth. Okay, Bolton, you need a breather, or Gay, you need a breather. Bring in Tranquil. Perfect. He's played well. Now you bring in Tranquil. He's played excellent.
Yeah.
But your depth is now a little bit shortened. And so this does factor in. It's just like defensive linemen, if you get a series off, the fact that you don't have to have Bolton or Gay on the field every single series and give one of them a little bit of a break is such a huge deal.
It makes Leo Chanel a little bit more important now. I think we're going to see probably a little more of him in a traditional linebacker role. And I mean, again, I'm a little more comfortable with that option than I am with like the Ben Niemans of the world. That's what the Chiefs have been leaning on the last couple of years, depth wise. And they are so much deeper this year. That, or you go more 3 safeties. Mike Edwards plays more. That's a possibility. We could see more Shamari Connor. Just kind of depends on the personnel that you're going up against. Who the formations that you're seeing from other teams. They've got some options that I think you feel better about than Daniel Sorensen taking 80% of the snaps.
When it comes to that Dolphins game, I think you're right, Jake, about the issue with depth, and especially in that game, because they're going to run and you're going to need to stay as fresh as possible for a full 60 minutes. And that will come into play in that game, I think. But in terms of skill set, I kind of think Tranquil's the better fit for that matchup anyway. Like, Bolton against the run is obviously a big deal, and his, quarterback of the defense role, obviously very important. But against a team that wants to play in space and is going to bring a lot of crossers, is going to try to have a lot of things crossing the face of the defense. I mean, we saw last night, Tyreek Hill did that a bunch. They like to do that with Jalen Waddle. They can do that with their running backs a little bit. I kind of think that skill set wise, it's actually a really good matchup for Tranquil. But you're right. I mean, not having the ability to swap in and out is certainly
that's
challenging.
the big thing.
Yeah.
And in certain times, if the Chiefs get up, then the Dolphins are going to have to throw the football. That's another reason why the Dolphins couldn't run the football yesterday. And we'll talk more about that. Is they were down. You had to throw the football. When they become one-dimensional, they become a lot easier to guard. But that stinks because this is, knock on wood, one of the few big injuries that the Kansas City Chiefs have suffered this year. I mean, there have been some other guys who've gotten hurt, but it's not one of the, I would say Bolton is one of the 10 best players on this team. And the good news is this is the one spot where the Chiefs can overcome at least an injury because they do have depth with the Drew Tranquill signing. It really, really is. But man, what a impressive performance in the second half for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. We're talking about the Chargers because the Chiefs have a 3.5 game lead, and it's not even Halloween yet. The Chiefs could have a 4.5 game lead on the rest of the AFC West before Brendan dresses up for Halloween. How about that? That's incredible.
That's probably not the best way to, like the best time frame to use, because I won't be dressing up.
I know, but
that'll be like an end of the earth kind of thing.
No, that was more of a fun side joke about it.
Yeah.
Like
you could have said when you dress up. That'd be
but that's not as funny because you don't dress
all right.
up.
I thought we were all doing Tavis themed costumes with our wives.
I don't even. What does that mean? Tavis?
You're the one that doesn't get that joke.
Of all people who don't get what Tavis, like Taylor and Travis. Oh my God.
No, I thought we were going with
bruh.
No. That's what we're going. That's the name? That's the name that they determined?
Yeah, Earth to Jake.
I did not know that.
I knew that. I knew that one.
Oh,
I can't believe you missed that one.
No, I didn't get Davis.
I was deep in some Twitter Swiftie fan accounts yesterday, and the most insane people.
She's
on Earth.
so invested in this. Like, this is such like a high school relationship.
Dog, she was hanging out with Bernie Kosar.
That was not her.
Was that not her?
There's no way that was her. Why would she hang out with Bernie Kosar?
Because he was a guest of the Kelseys at their like house party.
Yeah, before the game.
Cleveland guys.
Yeah.
That did not look like Taylor Swift.
Oh.
That definitely looked like what?
All I know.
No, it did not look. No, I refuse to believe that was her.
Okay, time out there. I want to go back to every play that Travis makes or doesn't make. Like, she's so invested. It is. It's like you're in high school and he's the star player and she's dating him, and when things go well, she's so excited. Like,
okay. Why would Bernie Kosar post a picture on his actual Instagram with a fake Taylor Swift?
Because
that doesn't make
sense. He a good poster? Like, do we know? Like, is he really into like making posts, and is he like tuned into the zeitgeist? Was Kosar in Kansas City this weekend?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's at a Kelsey house.
Yeah. So it's like they were there and then they went to the game.
But she's wearing a different shirt at the game.
No, she's wearing.
Do you know women? It changed like 8 times a day.
She was wearing a jacket at the game, wasn't she? Or was it?
No, it was like a longer sleeve, maybe like a cutoff crew neck, maybe.
Either way, I just think it's hilarious how she.
So we're not doing that, for the record. We're not dressing up like the power couple. All 6 of us and our wives. We're not doing that.
Oh, my wife would be totally down for that. Have you met my wife?
Yes, I know. I'm sure she's down.
My son has already got his costume and has put it on like 8 times since.
Yeah, you guys already have a plan, so I don't want to. I don't want to step on your toes. Yeah.
My plan
have you met my wife? She would gladly do multiple Halloween costumes.
Are you and your wife dressing up for Halloween? It's a week from tomorrow.
Me? No, I haven't dressed up. I haven't dressed up since I was like 13 years old. Except the one time I showed up as Jim Harbaugh. Easiest costume in the world. Had a hat and a lanyard and a long sleeve shirt and some khakis. It was the easiest costume ever.
And a Sharpie.
Well, I might run it back.
Coming up
Good
next,
year for it.
Coming up next, we will talk about the Chargers and Brandon Staley, my guy. Time to go. We'll get to all that coming up next. We got to start talking about just how bad of an X's and O's, but also a game planner that Brandon Staley is for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Please, Brandon Staley. You said Brendan Staley.
Well,
I would like to have no association.
I
with
don't
this
care
man.
if it's Brendan, Brandon, Brandon. I don't
This
care.
is a total Brandon move. Yeah.
He's not a good head coach.
No, he's not.
Plain and simple.
Very bad.
But my question, and this is to any coach, you cannot play the Chiefs zone defense. If you just play a generic zone defense, number 87 will eviscerate you. It won't be close. He is the smartest wide receiver / tight end out there. He will find a way to make it work every single time. They didn't do anything different from the first quarter through the third quarter. And then finally in the third quarter, they did. They decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't just play regular zone defense and leaving number 87 for the Chiefs wide open. They finally decided to double team him. If you're supposed to be a good defensive coordinator like Staley's supposed to be, how do you not know that? Because if there's one thing, if even my wife was like, why are they letting him that wide open? That seems like what are they doing? If my wife, who is not, Bill Belichick, but she's also,
damn.
She's also, not, whatever Valley Girl, if you will. If she can decipher, they should put another guy on him. They should double team him. And I said, sweetie, you now have a better understanding of how to stop the Chiefs than an NFL head coach. And she turned and looked at me and did kind of the head thing, like, I feel kind of good about this. Like, how are you that stupid?
The story in The Athletic by the Los Angeles Chargers beat writer, the title of the story was Too Much Zone. And that was in quotes because that's what the players were saying after the game. The players themselves were like, yeah, we were in zone too much in the first half.
Like, you can play zone as long as you double team Kelsey.
And there are times you have to play zone, right? Like there are times, like if you're blitzing, if you're sending a certain blitz look, or you're mixing your coverages. Like sometimes you got to play zone. It's not like you just play press man and double on 70 snaps. This is not how it works. But if you come out and your intent is we are going to zone up the Chiefs, and Travis Kelce is active for that game, you are signing up to be ravaged by Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And I understand you point out you can't play man every single snap. And part of the reason why you can't play man every single snap with the Kansas City Chiefs is if you don't get to Mahomes, then he's going to take off and run for about 90 yards because that's how smart he is. He sees it's man. If he breaks the pocket, he did that against the zone there in the second half. That's why he got the big first down.
Yeah,
on
that third and 15. Yeah. I've added that to my collection of like dadisms, like things I say to the TV. Like, your old man would talk to the TV during a game and say something like big play coming up when it's the third down. Like I say that out loud all the time, or that's the big play coming up here. And then now a new one I have for the Chiefs when Mahomes gets on the move, I say faster than he looks when he hits the line, takes off faster than he looks.
Just amazing how bad of you can't have this type of talent if you are the Chargers and don't have a playoff win.
Sure he can. Look at him.
No, as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's why I would have fired Staley last year. I would have. I would have fired him, and I would have started brand new this year. Because you want to know what's going to happen, guys, after this year? Do you realize what's going to happen to the Chargers? And I know you're more of a salary cap is fake kind of guy. They're going to lose a lot of really good players off this team because they're so far in. Keenan Allen ain't going to be a Charger next year. Mike Williams might not be a Charger next year. Like, there's a lot of guys who might not be Chargers next year because of cap situations right now. They did a lot of the void stuff and a lot.
Yeah.
This was the year. This was the year for the Chargers.
You can't fire a guy after 2 years with a playoff appearance, though. Like, I know what you're saying, but you can't do that. No team in the league would do that.
Well, they're so bad right now. That's not a good.
Well, yeah,
team.
I mean, it's
and that
largely
was
his
their
fault.
Super Bowl. That was the Chiefs game was their Super Bowl. As a lot of people pointed out, the Chargers knew this. The Chargers knew that they had to get this win because if they win this game, okay, the Chiefs are 5-2. The Chargers are they've been
3-3.
Yeah, they would have been 3-3. You got a chance because you'd get the Chiefs again at the end of the year
At home.
And then, maybe the Chiefs stumble against the Bengals or the Bills, and the Eagles. They still got 3 really, really tough games. Plus, you got the Dolphins. No, they knew they had to get this win. They knew they had to. And they put out, they everything. They threw the kitchen sink at the Chiefs. And the Chiefs held them to 17.
I don't think they did. I don't think they did throw the kitchen sink at them.
Well,
I think that's the entire. Well, no, I think that's the point you're making, right? Is that they didn't do that because if they did, they wouldn't have let Travis Kelce sit 20 yards down the field uncovered.
Well, if they didn't throw the kitchen sink at the Chiefs, then another knock to stay. You had to win this game. You are 3.5 games back right now, and the Chargers are gonna trick one off, right? You know that they're gonna lose to somebody who's not very good. Like right now, I'm gonna tell you the Chargers will lose to like the Jets. Or the Chargers are going to lose to, the Broncos or the Ravens or the Patriots. Like the Chargers are going to fool. Like they might, D2 rep and Tyson Bagent is going to beat the Chargers next week. Let's do this.
That is the Sunday night game. You know who's most upset about that being the Sunday night game?
Not now.
No, you're still too early. You're not in the flex window yet.
I thought you could for the first 5 weeks.
No, it's
But you have to do it 2 weeks in advance.
Why didn't they? Oh, they still must have thought that the Chargers are going to be good.
You know who's most upset that game is a Sunday night game? Major League Baseball. Because Major League Baseball has punted on having a World Series game on Sunday night for the last handful of years. And they got to be thinking, man, we could outrate Bears Chargers.
Man, I don't know.
By the way, since 2020, do you know what quarterback has the most losses in the NFL?
Since 2020?
Since 2020.
Is it Justin Herbert by chance?
Justin Herbert is credited with 28 losses since 2020, the year he was drafted. That is more than any other quarterback in the NFL.
You know what that tells me?
That they have lost a lot.
That a lot of other bad quarterbacks get hurt.
Or they don't get a chance.
Yeah, they don't get a chance to lose that many games. That's kind of the thing. Yeah, there's not like manifestly gifted quarterback in bad situation anywhere else that's remotely like this, right?
He is really an enigma though, because like when you watch him play, there's obviously a lot that is good and a lot to like, and there is a reason why he got paid. And you're not going to not pay that guy.
Right.
He's obviously a good quarterback, and it's not all his fault. Like the offense not scoring, that is largely his fault yesterday. But the problems the Chargers have are not all the quarterback's fault.
Of course.
But
he still went 7 for 16 with 2 picks in the second half, and his team didn't score any points in a game they had to win. In a game where they're down 1 score at the half, in a game you have to find a way to win because it's getting late early on your season. It might be getting late early for your head coach. And he went 7 for 16 passing with 2 interceptions in the second half. And that kind of stuff happens to Justin Herbert a lot more than you would expect it to happen to a guy who is that, again, manifestly gifted at playing quarterbacks. There aren't 10 quarterbacks in the league. Ignore the resume. Just look at what they can do. There aren't 10 quarterbacks in the league that can do the things that Justin Herbert can do. But if he's so talented, then why does he lose so damn always? That's the big question, right? And it turns people stupid because there's no smart way to talk about this because quarterback wins and losses aren't a real stat because football is the ultimate team sport and all these things. And it is not all Justin Herbert's fault. But Justin Herbert seems to be around for a lot of this.
And it's okay to say that there are more like champions of Justin Herbert in the national NFL coverage than any other player in the league, probably. Like more than Mahomes. All Mahomes gets is godforsaken Nick Wright slobbering all over him for 3 hours every Monday. God, he is insufferable. But like very talented.
He's committed to the bit though.
Oh yeah, he is. He had some tweet this weekend about how obvious it was that you should bet on the Raiders, and then 3 hours later, they got their ass kicked by a guy who...
Well, gambling stuff, we all got our bad takes on gambling. Like, I'm going to start doing the opposite on my gambling.
I went 1-4 this week, man. I got no room to talk.
He publicly said you should bet on Josh McDaniels.
Well, that's not smart.
That is not smart. My point being, though, is that there are so many people who are willing to make any excuse possible for Justin Herbert, but at some point, like, you can be a good quarterback and still be at fault for your team not being good enough, because that's what the Chargers are. It's not that they're not good. It's that they're not good enough. And well, this year they're straight up not good. And that is a problem when you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender.
How did they not flex that game out of there even 2 weeks ago?
It's so bad.
Because
it's about eyeballs more than it's about game.
Like, can Biden move up a State of the Union address to that night and preempt it? Can we get something else on that isn't the Bears in prime time?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Against the bad vibes Chargers.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I might give that a look too, because my D2 heart will be excited about that. Coming up next, we'll go around the NFL here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, it's time to go around the NFL in a very quick edition. Buffalo loses to New England. Buffalo played with their food the entire game, and then at the end, they took the lead, but they couldn't get the stop. Mac Jones makes a couple big plays, and Buffalo loses to New England.
That's all you need to say, is that they allowed a game-winning touchdown drive to Mac Jones.
Yeah, man.
They have lost this year, the Buffalo Bills. They have lost to Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I can't take them seriously. I know they're talented. I know Josh Allen's a talented player. They lost to Zach Wilson and Mac Jones.
And this is the year for the Bills.
Unserious.
This is the year for the Bills. Like they're doing everything is for this year. It's going to be tough go of it next couple of years.
I don't know. I mean, as long as you've got the quarterback, you're going to be able to contend with that. But the Bills are more in that position than the Chargers are.
Yeah. Because Josh Allen's better than Herbert.
Exactly.
But also, Josh Allen, turnover machine.
Has any quarterback ever coasted on the reputation of one game more than Josh Allen, the overtime game against the Chiefs he didn't even win?
I think Allen's reputation is a bigger deal, or encompasses more than that.
I just know that they didn't look great. You know,
they don't have enough guys.
It's
the same problem they've always had because they play down to the level of competition that they have.
They got one dude.
Teams that can get a bunch of dudes involved and run a bunch of different stuff and don't have to rely on one player to be their entire offense most of the time. Even when they're not on, they've got enough weapons that they can go win games. How many games have the Chiefs won like that? The Dolphins look like that this year, and we'll get to them in a second, even though they lost yesterday. The Eagles are certainly like that. The Bills don't have that. If Stephon Diggs isn't putting up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Allen doesn't lead the team in rushing and have 400 yards passing, they don't have enough. And it's a coaching problem that they play down to their opponents because that always happens. Yeah. Every game they play to the caliber of their opponents, and that's on Sean McDermott. But they don't have enough guys offensively to be able to say, even on an off day, we've got enough to win. If they're off, they can't win.
And they're still not good enough up front offensively.
No way. And Diggs did have a good game. I mean, the touchdown that he scored was incredible, by the way.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But
he really is.
That's the number one for me. Like, Buffalo's going to lose. The Chiefs, before the Chiefs and the Bills play each other, there's a decent chance that Buffalo will have 4 losses and the Chiefs will have 2. And the game might not matter, to be honest with you, because the Chiefs could afford a loss because they'll still be a game ahead of Buffalo.
Could be.
That's my number one takeaway for the NFL this week. What's yours?
Number one thing for me, I thought last night was a really impressive win for the Eagles, and to do it despite the fact Jalen Hurts has a problem with turning the ball over.
He ain't right. Like, you talk about a guy playing hurt, like the shoulder and the knee.
Yeah.
Like he is not right.
And he was asked afterwards, hey, he put a brace on his knee midway through the game and was asked, and he just said, we got to win. That's all that matters. Anytime that you go right to that answer, something's wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, he's clearly not right, but he's also turned the ball over a lot. I think that's 10 turnovers for him now through 7 weeks. Like, that is a problem. He's tied with Jimmy G for the most picks in the league, which is especially bad for Jimmy G because he hasn't played in a week and a half. So that's a bit of a problem for him. But that's a really impressive win for them. They got better. They just, within the last 20 minutes, have traded for Kevin Byard of the Titans, who's a former All-Pro at safety. Their defense is nasty. Up front, they just keep getting better. Jalen Carter is really good. Really, really good. And they've got unbelievable weapons.
A.J. Brown is a monster.
Yeah, and the fact that they've got A.J. Brown, who's playing out of his mind. Devontae Smith is probably the best number 2 receiver in the NFL right now. Dallas Goedert was awesome. Their running game has 18 different running backs they can give the ball to.
Yep.
You don't need Hurts to be great, and that is why they are so dangerous. Because if he is, they're as good as anyone. If he's not, they can still beat anyone.
Wasn't very flattering for Miami. I continue to have questions about how they counterpunch when they get flattened, when they get sent to the mat. But worth noting that their offensive line has been ravaged by injury. They're down Armstead. They lost Isaiah Wynn last night. It's little wonder they couldn't keep Philadelphia out of their backfield. And they couldn't run the ball.
I'll mention this too. When you don't have Jalen Ramsey or Xavier Howard as your 2 starting quarterbacks, I mean, they were playing CB3 and CB4.
Kohu, I think he wears 4.
Kader Kohu,
sucks.
Yeah,
bad.
He wears number 4. Well, he was poor.
Well, and it's unfortunate for him because now in 2 of the last 3 weeks, is it, or 2 of the last 4, he's been matched up on Stephon Diggs and then all those dudes the Eagles have, and he had no chance.
I'll say that about before I just destroy the Dolphins. They're going to get both those guys back. Ramsey will be off IR, and then
they need Ramsey a lot.
So you had both of those 2 guys.
The line will get healthier.
The Dolphins will be a factor. They will.
My biggest takeaway was Baltimore putting the Lions in the trash can for 60 minutes.
I did not see that.
That is what it can look like when it all fires on every cylinder for Baltimore. They are as talented as anybody. They've got as good a defense as anybody. Lamar Jackson is as great a player as there is in this league. When his guys catch the ball, when his guys block for him, when his defense puts pressure on another team's quarterback for 60 minutes. Like, that's what it can be for the Ravens. Their ceiling is extremely high. Their problem is they don't get to it often enough, but we saw a very tantalizing, if you're a Ravens fan, look at what it looks like when they hit their ceiling on Sunday. Because that was, I don't know that anybody has a more impressive win in the NFL this season than that. That was, they took a Lions team that came in hot. Everybody in the world was on the Lions +3. Like that was the heaviest bet side in Vegas. I think, yeah. What moron would bet that? Which pair of morons would do something like that? And they just set them on. They just dropped a nuke on them. Yeah. I mean, it was really, really impressive from the Baltimore Ravens.
Who would bet the Lions +3? Idiots. Also, I know the wins aren't good wins, but man, all Mike Tomlin does is win. They're 4-2.
I mean, the Rams aren't a bad win.
4-2.
They just find a way, man.
They just find a way. Kenny Pickett, I don't think is very good.
Matt Canada saw that Dan Enos got fired by Arkansas this week and said, "Oh no, if they're going to fire a bad OC, I might be in trouble too."
He's not. They're good. They ain't gonna fire him.
Well, now they're not.
He's gonna have to work more without getting paid. Fired football coach, best job in the world. Coming up next, we will talk with Matt Verderame a little bit earlier than normal, and then we'll get to a little good, bad, and ugly. to 580 Sports Talk coming your way on this Victory Monday. We will get to more of the Chiefs taking care of the Chargers. We'll talk K-State. The Cats, boy, they hammered TCU. It wasn't even a contest. Both QBs looked good. K-State defense was fantastic. We'll get to that. We'll talk Chiefs offense. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Real simple, real easy. You can check us out on our YouTube stream. Go to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Easy to get to. You go to youtube.com. In the search bar, 580 Sports Talk. Click on our page. Really easy to get to interact with us on our stream comment section. We normally talk with our NFL insider on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline coming up at the bottom of the hour, but we're going to move him up 30 minutes because we cannot wait to talk about the Chiefs taking care of the division before Halloween, a week before Halloween. We bring in Matt Verderame from SI.com Sports Illustrated. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, what was the most impressive thing that you saw yesterday when the Chiefs took care of the Chargers?
Second half defense. I know the obvious answer is Mahomes and Kelsey and 424 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And look, I mean, I think you're just looking at it from a baseline, and that is the most impressive thing. But I thought in past years that would have been a game that would have turned into a 34-31 shootout. And in the second half of that game, the Chargers touched the ball 5 times. Their drives went as follows: interception, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, interception. Chiefs recalibrated, and they completely shut down a top 10 offense. That, to me, is the biggest takeaway from what was an important win.
The Chiefs defense right now, without Nick Bolton, takes a hit because of depth, because Drew Tranquill can step in. So that will be a factor because now there's no subs for Willie Gay and Drew Tranquill anymore, with Bolton being gone. But right now, I look at Menahu adding to that defensive line. He was a monster, and I think this defense is just going to get better.
Yeah, look, I agree. I mean, Nick Bolton is a great player, and certainly somebody who will be missed. But I don't think there's an NFL team more prepared to deal with a loss at middle linebacker than Chiefs are. I mean, Tranquill is almost every bit as good as Bolton is. So he's going to step in. Now, look, now you're to a point that you can't lose another guy for a few months, right? So that's where you get into, okay, then Tranquill's going to stay on the field, and Willie Gay's going to stay on the field. But, like, they're still really good. They still have 3 really good linebackers and 2 are excellent. They're equipped to deal with it. I mean, that to me is the story of this defense. Yes, there are great players. There's Chris Jones, and there's Trent McDuffie, and there's, to an extent, his greatness, L'Jarius Sneed, it needs to be accounted for as well. But they don't have any weak link. There's nobody on the defense who you say, that the team could just go after. And to that point, they're so deep. They have so many. I mean, yesterday, they sacked Justin Herbert 5 times. They had 5 different players get a sack, none of which were Chris Jones. When you can play like that, and teams have to account for 5, 6, 7 guys up front, and in the secondary, 4 corners, 3 safeties, that is just an inordinate amount to try to get ready for. And for Spagnuolo, it's just a wealth of riches where you can play so many different types of coverages because you have the personnel to do it. They are a spectacular unit right now. I would say comfortably they're a top 3 defense in the NFL.
The offense looked like they got it going in the first half. Second half, they went 3 possessions in a row with the punt. How do you evaluate the Chiefs offense right now after that game?
I thought they played very well. I mean, look, at some point, unless you're just going to have a Dolphins-Denver type day and you're going to score 70, I mean, you're not just going to move the ball at will the whole game, right? I mean, I remember even remarking to someone after the first half when I think Mahomes at that point thrown for like 320 or something. Like, look, he's not going to throw for another 320 yards in the second half. I mean, eventually here, the Chargers are going to realize that Travis Kelce's not on IR and he's actually active. They should cover him at some point. Like, it happens. And, you have to adjust. And you're going to have a penalty. And I thought that was, look, I'm never one of these, like, get on the officials, guys, because it happens and it levels out during the course of the year. Blake Bell did not fumble that ball. I mean, that ball, I don't think he ever had to control the ball at any point in time. And it got ruled a fumble. That takes points off. They looked like they were going in for 7. They would have at least had 3. I thought in the second half they were up and down offensively. But I thought overall, they almost had 500 yards of offense. Mahomes threw for 424 and 4 touchdowns. It's definitely a work in progress. It's getting much better. As much as they've struggled, Mahomes is second in the NFL in passing yardage. He's tied for first in touchdowns. I believe they're third in yards per game offensively. I mean, they're one of the top 3 offenses in football. It just doesn't feel like it because of how wonky it's been at times.
We're chatting with Matt Verderame, who covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline to talk all things National Football League. Other action from around the weekend that was in the NFL, Matt, let's go to Sunday Night Football last night. The Eagles take care of business against the Miami Dolphins. Bigger loss for the Dolphins or bigger win for the Eagles?
Bigger win for the Eagles. I think, look, the Eagles asserted themselves. I thought there was an inflection point in that game. Jerome Baker has a pick 6 on a fluky play. It's 17-17. And you're kind of thinking, okay, is this the play that gets Miami over the top and they finally get kind of that signature win they've been looking for? Or did the Eagles show that there's a reason they're a championship caliber football team? And the Eagles responded to that gut punch by taking the ball and jamming it down Miami's throat and putting it in the end zone. And then Slay gets a pick at the goal line, and the Eagles go down, and they end the game. To me, that's what a championship team does. It's not always going to be pretty. You're going to have ugly points in the game. So I said earlier, I thought the best thing that the Chiefs had was the second half defense. They were awful defensively in the first half. Then they give up a point. Philadelphia takes that punch and says, yeah, that's nice. Here's 14 unanswered points. Game's over. And to me, you saw what you need to see. Look, Hurts is still not playing great. He's still uneven. He's still got to figure it out. It seems like if it's not going to A.J. Brown in the passing game, it's a little bit out of sorts, although Goddard got going last night. Miami, the only thing I'll say for Miami, at some point you got to start winning some of these games against good teams. I mean, even dating back to last year, week 2 and week 3 of last year, they beat Baltimore and they beat Buffalo. And since then, they have not beat one playoff caliber team. They've beaten nobody. At some point here, and even those 2 teams, Baltimore barely got in the playoffs and lost the first round. And the Buffalo was a good win, although in that game, Miami was outgained by almost 250 yards. Miami's going to have to start beating some of these teams. I think that's the main concern. You've played 2 good teams this year. Buffalo, who's had its own issues this season, you lost by 28 points. And this Eagles game, you scored 10 offensive points. I mean, that's where I think you start looking at them going, okay, I know they're good, but how good are they?
Outside of that win for the Eagles last night, was the Baltimore Ravens the biggest win of the weekend? I mean, just trouncing the Lions. And sometimes you get got, and that happens. That doesn't mean the Lions are suddenly a bad team or the old Lions or anything like that. But how impressed were you by what Baltimore was able to do to just bash Detroit yesterday?
Very, because the Lions are a good football team, and the Lions are great up front. And Baltimore just ear-holed them for 60 straight minutes. It's one thing to come out, punch somebody in the mouth, get up 10-0, okay, and then the game kind of levels up. The Ravens could have beat them by 50 yesterday, and that game wasn't close. And I think, look, the overreaction is going to come now, and it's going to be that one team's great and the other one's terrible. And I don't believe in that at all. The Lions are really good. They're going to win 12 games. They'll win the division. They'll probably be a top 3 seed in the NFC. The Ravens, I still think there are real questions about them in terms of, okay, can you consistently play top-tier football? Because they've had some weird games this year. They skipped by against Tennessee. They lost to Pittsburgh. They lost to Indy. They've been bizarre at times this season. But Lamar had a phenomenal game. He was the superstar yesterday in the league, along with Mahomes, of course, had a huge day. And then you look at defensively, Baltimore's leading the league in sacks. The Ravens, I'll say this about Baltimore. They know who they are. They, more or as much as any team in the NFL, they know what they're about. And that showed up yesterday where they just lined up and said, we're going to hammer you. And if you can handle that, then let's play a game. And the Lions were not prepared to deal with what they dealt with yesterday. So, yeah, I think the Ravens are 5-2. got to feel good about where they're going.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He joins us every Monday to talk all things NFL, and you can follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame and check out his work again at SI.com. Matt, the AFC North is one of the most fascinating divisions in the NFL. We thought that would be the case going into the season. It remains the case 7 weeks in. Which 4-2 team in that division do you have more faith in going forward, Cleveland or Pittsburgh?
I mean, let's put it this way. I don't think either one of them is competing to be playing in Vegas in February because the Steelers have way too many questions offensively, and Cleveland is a walking offensive question. And I don't know what you do with the fact yesterday that Sean Watson, before he got hurt, was 1 of 5 for 5 yards and a pick, and another pick that got overturned. And then he got cleared from concussion protocol, and they just never put him back in the game. And then after the game, Stefanski says, well, yeah, he's going to play next week. And Watson basically said, we'll see how things go. What? Like, what do you do with that? I don't know. I mean, I know Kenny Pickett wants to play and he's involved, and I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm questioning whether or not Deshaun Watson is committed because I'm not in the Cleveland room every day, but it's odd. I mean, he missed multiple games and it seemed like he wasn't going to even miss one. And then it kind of lingered and nobody really knew what was going on. And now he's somewhat hurt again and nobody really knows what's going on. And maybe even including some of the guys in the team. Like, I would say Pittsburgh because I trust Pittsburgh's culture. I trust that much like Baltimore, they know who they are. That team knows exactly what it's about. I think they have a ceiling. I think both of them do because I think offensively they're not going to be able to beat the best teams. But I trust Pittsburgh more than I trust Cleveland. And that statement is both true now and over the last 50 years.
It was a bit of a revenge of the nerds weekend in the NFL in the sense of you had the little guy rising up. There were 4 1-5 teams that earned wins yesterday. New England, the Giants, the Bears, and the Broncos. Should any of those teams feel good about anything they did in their wins or better moving forward? Or is this just a blip on the radar that maybe cost them draft position?
Well, I mean, if you're being realistic, look, the Giants beat Washington in a game where Washington, I don't know how many people are aware of this because the Commanders don't exactly get a ton of limelight. They've given up 40 sacks this year already. Like, that's impossible. I mean, they're on pace to give up, I think, about 105. So I don't know. Like, what do you do with that? I mean, I don't think the Giants did anything that you can go, oh, well, now they're going to take off here. I don't think that's the case. Denver, they beat a Green Bay team that I think we've seen that Green Bay at this point is limited offensively and can't stop a nosebleed on the ground. They've given up 1 billion rushing yards this year. Denver has played better the last 2 weeks defensively. I mean, you want to take that, you could do that. I don't know that all of a sudden they're going to be hopping back in the race, but okay, defensively they're playing better. Kudos to them with that. But yeah, I don't know. The Patriots, look, that game to me says way more about Buffalo than it does about New England. I think I've seen enough of the Bills at this point to kind of make a judgment on who they are this year, which is just going to be a team that's maddening. And the Bears, Tyson Bagent, fun story. The Raiders are terrible. I mean, how do you lose a game? By the way, the most inexplicable decision of all of Sunday's action. The Raiders are down 21-3 in the fourth quarter with 4th and goal and kicked a field goal. Like, what is happening? I mean, McDaniels this year, I've never seen a coach in my life who's more obsessed with short field goals. It's insane. They went for it on 1 4th down and inside the 10-yard line and didn't get it. Didn't get any points. And then got down there again. And it wasn't like a crazy 4th and goal either. It was like from the 4-yard line. And they were like, nah, it's fine. Just kick it. It's just a bizarre football team.
Which NBC television program would you rather watch reruns of on next Sunday night, than Bears Chargers?
That game has the potential both to set the sport back 50 years and also to be a laugh out loud hilarious. I mean, like NBC reruns, I'm a big Friends guy, so I'll toss that on all day long. But there's a part of me that says, yeah, Chargers are going to win that game 30-10. There's another part of me that, honestly, God, thinks the Bears are going to win. Just anything can happen to Brandon Staley just seems to happen. He's Charlie Brown kicking a football. So there's a part of me that's like, yeah, Tyson Badgett. I mean, come on. There's also another part of me that says, yeah, this is the game Tyson Badgett throws for 400 yards on national television. I know it's going to be a bad football game, but it has, like, some bad teams, even though they're bad, they're just kind of entertaining. This could be like just an all-time. Do you remember when? And it's like Tyson Badgett threw 6 touchdowns on Sunday Night Football and then never was heard from again. I feel like we could be headed into that territory on Sunday night.
Why didn't they flex this game out 2 weeks ago? Like, why didn't they?
That's a great question. I've thought about that, and I have a great answer for you. I mean, maybe it's simply they just looked at the schedule and went, okay, well, the CBS is going to protect the Niners and the Bengals. So maybe it was simply just, hey, look, there's not any other great option, and at least we have the Chicago and LA markets, although I don't think LA is clamoring to watch the Chargers. That would be my guess. But it's a very good and fair question, because I looked at that for 5 minutes and said, how did anybody in the league offices let this happen? But it's going to happen. And we're all going to sit there. Everybody's going to complain, including myself, for a week that game's on Sunday Night Football. And every single one of us is going to sit down and watch that game and laugh as Tyson Badgett tries to beat Chargers in a game that the Chargers should win by 24 points, but probably will need to win in the final 2 minutes.
As a former D2 football player, I am cheering on Tyson Badgett so hard. I want him to kick ass so hard, which would be fantastic. All right. 2 last questions I got for you. Who has a better chance of keeping their job, Staley or McDaniels, for next year?
Oh, my God.
I want them both to be back. Like, as a Chiefs fan, I hope they're both retained.
Oh, the Chiefs should offer to pay both their salaries. I mean, can the Chiefs just put them on salary to keep them in the AFC West? Look, I got to be honest. I think the answer is neither, but I don't think there's any world that Staley's back unless the Chargers. You know what? Actually, I'll say Staley for one reason. The Chargers always have the capability to somehow go 9-8, like make the playoffs. Maybe Thanos talks himself into it. I don't see any world where the Raiders are a playoff team, and I just don't know how you justify bringing McDaniels back to the playoffs.
All righty. With Tua not having a great game last week, Josh Allen continuing to not have a couple decent games. Who's the MVP right now? Who do you got? I asked you last week, and you said I lean Tua. Who do you got right now? Who's the league leader in MVPs almost halfway through?
I can't believe this is even possible based on everything that's gone on. It's Mahomes. I mean, right now, it's Mahomes. He's almost thrown for the same amount of yardage. He has thrown for the same amount of touchdowns. He's doing it with, like, you, me, and a guy in the street at receiver. And they're the best record in football. I mean, it's got to be him right now. After what he did today, or yesterday, or did on Sunday, I think right now he's the favorite, which is incredible based on what we've seen. He's on pace for 4,900 passing yards. It has to be him right now after what we saw over the weekend.
Matt, as always, we appreciate the time. Have yourself a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys. Take care.
Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame.
Josh McDaniels is so dumb. It's really hard to believe how dumb he is.
We shall never see his like again. Like, cherish him. Cherish these final Raiders games this year, because we're never going to see a dunce like this on an NFL sideline ever again.
You can talk about the dumb things that Brandon Staley does, which, like, in terms of football strategy, are dumb.
Correct.
Undeniably. Not covering Travis Kelce. Dumb.
Very dumb.
I don't know that Josh McDaniels can count. They were down 21. Not only this, they're down 21-3 in the fourth quarter yesterday to the Bears. To the Bears. Let's reiterate. To the Bears.
Hey, let's put some respect on Tyson Badgett's name real quick.
Tyson Badgett. I'm thrilled for Tyson Badgett. You know what else they've got? 52 other guys who play for the Bears.
They had Deontay Foreman out there looking like Walter Payton.
He looked like Earl Campbell just running over.
They're running over, dude.
Running over everybody.
In the red zone, they went for it on 4th and 4. They threw a quick out to Devontae Adams, got 4.5 yards on 4th and 4. 4 plays later, still in the red zone. Same deficit, down 18. They kicked a field goal.
Well, when you can make a two-score game, you got to do it.
Like, they already went for it from further out. Why not just go for it again? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it would have been really demoralizing for that drive not to end with points. Wanted to make sure we got some on the board.
They want to make sure it was 21-6
make it a
at least.
Yeah, we make it a 2-score game and
2 touchdowns instead of a touchdown.
I wouldn't trust him to wipe mud off my boots. He's so unbelievably incompetent.
It's just amazing that he's gotten to do this twice. At the end of the day, that he has gotten to fail like this twice.
Like, there are 2 hires that I don't understand how there's any justification in an NFL head coach. The first one is Josh McDaniels. Like, everyone outside of Mark Davis apparently thought this was going to be terrible. Mark Davis thought it was going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can give you a lot of other coaches, even the coaches who have really struggled, like, the reason why Culley was hired at Tech for Houston is because it was a sham hire. At least I can, like, I can at least understand.
Hired to be fired,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Urban Meyer being hired by Jacksonville. Like, the only person who thought that was going to work out was Shad Khan, apparently. Like, those 2 are it. Like, at least I can justify hiring other dudes. Like, we made fun of Rod Chudzinski. Like, at least I can justify that maybe a little bit.
Oh, Chud.
Well,
I can't for McDaniels nor Urban Meyer.
people didn't like Josh McDaniels when they were 6-0 in Denver in his first stint. They won his first 6 games. People still didn't like the guy. And then it went south. People don't like Josh McDaniels.
That was a hire made by a guy, that guy being Mark Davis, who does not know football.
Oh.
Like, and I'm not trying to say I have like inside knowledge, but I've read this from football writers and football people for years that Mark Davis likes football, but Mark Davis doesn't like get football, and he doesn't understand how it works or why teams are good. So it pretty much came off as, well, the Patriots won. Tom Brady likes him. Let's go hire him. What? I'm sure it'll work for us.
It's incredible.
That's what it came down to, is that Mark Davis doesn't understand how football works.
Alrighty, you get a yes or a no. Is Patrick Mahomes right now the MVP of the league? Yes or no?
Vegas says he's a favorite, so I'll say yes.
No.
Best player on the best team?
Who is it then?
Lamar.
Ooh, that's a fascinating argument.
I am not saying that I would necessarily vote that way if I had a vote, but it is so much of a narrative award. And the narrative right now is, yeah, Chiefs are really good, but the Chiefs are good because of their defense.
Okay.
Whereas I think still it's, wow, they got a new offense, new weapons. Now look how good Lamar is. I think the narrative favors Lamar at this point. Again, I'm not necessarily saying I would vote that way, but I think that's where voters would go.
Wait, who would you vote for? That's what I don't want what you think's going to happen. I want what you would do.
I vote for Mahomes. I don't know. Up until yesterday, I probably would have voted for Tua still. And I don't think Tua was all that bad yesterday, all things considered either. So yeah, I guess I'd lean Mahomes.
Okay.
I would personally put it Mahomes, Tua, Lamar in that order. All very close together.
Yeah, we got a lot of football left. Coming up next, we'll recap the weekend, and then we'll talk a little K-State football. Alrighty, recapping the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll let you go first. What do you got for the good?
My good, pretty simply, was that I won a bunch of money on Saturday. It was a really fun day of football, really good day of football, and very profitable day of football.
What was your good?
My good was Chris Kleiman and Colin Klein trolling all of us and answering the question, who will start, Will Howard or Avery Johnson, with both of them, suckers, and Avery Johnson starting at wide receiver and taking a jet sweep handoff on the first play of the game, and then Howard and Johnson rotating series and putting TCU in the absolute depths of hell. Very entertaining K-State game, and incredible idea to start both guys on the first play. It was so funny.
My good, I'm going to go with the Washburn women's soccer team. They continue their unbeaten streak.
Yeah.
When I say unbeaten, they've tied one game, but they have gone 13 straight games without being beaten. That's incredible. Leading the MIAA in soccer. Artie, what's your bad?
The bad for me for this weekend, and I just had one in my head and I lost it, so I'm going to go with Kareem Jackson of the Denver Broncos, who has been suspended within the last 5 minutes for 4 games for being the dirtiest player in the NFL.
Headhunting.
Yeah. This is going to be the 5th time.
Yep.
We've played 7 weeks. He's about to be fined for the 5th time.
So he got
for an
suspended.
illegal hit. Yeah, 4 game suspension.
He will not play
4.
Sunday.
Yeah,
wow, I thought it would be a game.
No, he launched himself at Packer tight end Luke Musgrave yesterday. Musgrave had to leave the game. I do not believe he returned. He's already had a concussion this year too, which I think was part of the reason why. Yeah, dirty player, bad player, keep it out of the league. And frankly, if he never saw the field again, it would be too soon.
Okay.
My bad was CBS's decision to split screen the beginning of the Chiefs-Chargers game with the end of the Colts-Browns game, dramatically overestimating how much anyone in greater Kansas City, or really anyone anywhere, cares about the fortunes of the Colts and the Browns. This was not, and I know people were mad about this because I saw it all over social media. Leave the folks at your local CBS affiliate alone. This was not their call. This was big CBS as my contact falls out of my eye.
I was just there. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Literally fell out.
Yeah, it fell out of my eye during that. So we'll keep it moving. They were split screening the dramatic end of the Colts Browns with the start of the Chiefs Chargers. At one point, they had Chiefs Chargers in like a tiny little box.
Yeah, they did.
And they blew up the end of Colts Browns. My wife, my mild-mannered wife, says, I don't care about this game. Show me the Chiefs game. So I can't imagine the vocabulary that was flying around living rooms in Topeka and Kansas City and elsewhere. But hey, at least we got the split screen. If you were in Wichita, you didn't even get that.
Yeah.
Did you see when they blew the box back up to 50-50? It was after they showed Taylor Swift for the first time.
Yeah. They know what the people want.
I made a comment to Abby. I said, oh, man, they're missing key Swift content here. And immediately they blew it back up.
Yeah. My bad. Don't want to blame officials.
Blame them.
I don't, because to me that's loser behavior. But you can point out. You can point out stuff.
Point out their failings.
Okay. At first, I thought, you know what? It's kind of close. Kind of close. But then I saw another angle of the Iowa punt returner. For those of you who don't know, Iowa and Minnesota were in a
titanic battle.
Terrible game. But at the end of the game, Minnesota punts, and then Iowa's returner is yelling, get away, and he's doing the, like safe motion.
With one hand.
With one hand. But it's safe motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ball bounces. He picks it up. He is inbounds. Okay. I hope people realize that. A lot of people are like, well, he would outbound us anyways. No, he wasn't. He was inbounds. And he takes it back for the score. And that would have won the game.
Mm-hmm.
They ruled that he called fair catch. Now, the first angle that I saw was the high above angle. And I was like, oh, because I saw the one hand. And I was like, gray area.
Yeah.
They're going to probably call it. But then I saw the field level. Have you seen the field level angle?
Yeah.
That is not a fair catch.
Very clearly doing
Very clear.
This. Yeah.
Like at first, because it's hard to see, like the angle when it's up top. But the officials, I don't know if you know this, guys, but the officials, Dan's working on his contact here. The officials are on the field.
Yeah.
How do you call that a fair catch? That is so bad. It
Yeah, I
is
don't know.
so bad.
And then uphold it on review.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm with you.
The reason why they upheld it on review is because they're like, yeah, we don't want to make the officials look bad. That I swear to God, that's the thing. But that was my bad. Is how is that I mean, Brian Ferentz's job is on the line here with the amount of points that they score. He needed that.
He is so far below the number now.
But that's
funny.
I don't know how you can even think that that's a fair catch.
That was bad.
Incredible.
We need.
And they need me to be the replay guy.
I am not
do a great
necessarily like Mr. Coach Prime over here. We need Iowa versus Colorado in a bowl game. I need Colorado to get to 6 wins. I need the number one defense and last place offense versus first place offense, last place defense. I have to have
That
it.
would rule so hard.
Iowa.
Iowa probably
think
better on
Iowa.
special teams.
Yeah.
Hey, can I jump the line on ugly real quick?
Yeah, what do you got?
Because
Please. Is
we
your eye
are-
okay?
yes, my eye is fine. My
Okay.
contact's back in. People on the screen can see that. My ugly today is going to take the form of an impromptu lightning round version of everyone's favorite game. Is it good? All right, lightning round. Is it good? Question number 1. Scoring points in a football game. Is it good? Yes or no?
Yes, it is good.
Yes. Yeah.
Lightning round question number 2. Is it good putting a picture of Adolf Hitler on the Jumbotron during a football game? Yes or no?
No.
No.
No, I'm going to go no.
And question number 3. Is it good to put Hitler on your Jumbotron more times than your team scores points in a rivalry game?
Well,
No.
well, that supersedes. I don't care how many points you do score. You don't put Hitler on the Jumbotron.
The score at Spartan Stadium on Saturday in the Paul Bunyan Trophy game, Michigan 49 times Michigan State showed Adolf Hitler on the Jumbotron 1, Michigan State 0.
Yeah, man. And the thing is, like, they didn't know that was coming because the guy who put together the video thing just stole the content. Like, it was from some quiz game, like some online quiz game. They just stole the content from it without permission. So no one knew. Like, it surprised
It's
everyone.
just interstitial entertainment
Hold on a second.
before the game.
Hold on a second. So you can't even come up with your own trivia questions? Come on, man.
Like, just run like Chive TV for an hour before the game. I'm sure Michigan State fans would love that.
Just run anything. Run your team or your university commercial, the 30-second spot that airs during the games. Just air that for an hour. Unthinkably terrible.
Just how about you come up with just air highlights of old good Michigan State teams?
Just put on ESPN.
Hey,
Yes, that's what they do at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. They were showing the Oklahoma State game.
Just put on
Yeah.
ESPN. It's
I
ridiculous.
don't need movie theater trivia.
all right.
Yeah, that was half of my ugly. The other half is I wasn't expecting the Packers to possibly be in a QB sweepstakes this year, but we are.
Yeah.
They scored 17 points against the worst defense in the NFL.
My ugly, and I liked the guy a lot,
Uh-oh.
and now I'm starting to sour.
Uh-oh. Who is it?
Do you guys have an idea?
I don't.
I really liked him, but he's doing one. He's so soft now, and his team plays soft because he gives them an out and an excuse.
Is it
and
Josh Allen?
No, and you can't face the music. No.
Oh, Lincoln Riley.
It is
Riley.
Lincoln
Yeah, it's
Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
I think Josh Allen flopping and begging for
No.
personal fouls.
My guy, Lincoln Riley, buddy, you need to look in the mirror right now. You know, the one of the greatest quotes of the history of movies that actually applies to life is in Remember the Titans. When Gary Bertier and, oh gosh, I'm drawing a name.
Julius.
Julius, you know, attitude reflect leadership, sir. Who's the leader of the USC Trojans? That's Lincoln Riley. Who's softer than soft? Lincoln Riley. Whose defense is terrible? Lincoln Riley. Cutting off media members because they're not, because they talked to someone. Not, hey guys, you really crapped the bed, but don't worry about it. You don't have to talk to the media. They're going to ask you some tough questions.
Yeah, it's all nasty for them right now.
Really bad.
Jeepers. Come on, Lincoln.
When
Grow a pair.
When he looks in the mirror, he points at himself and says, I am the head coach of the Chicago Bears. That's what he says when he's in the mirror.
Oh, nope, we're not going to talk to media. Yeah, why face consequences? I really like Lincoln, but boy, he not as much anymore. Anyways, coming up next, we're going to talk K-State as they trounced TCU.
This sounds like the track from a song on the soundtrack of a 2006 college basketball video game.
Is this garbage?
No,
This is not garbage.
Super Drag.
It's a good song.
It is a good song.
You want to know what was super awesome this weekend?
Garbage. Jake learns of a band,
And
then for like years
every song
afterwards,
is by that band.
Yes.
I still get asked once a month. Oh, is this song by Dad?
By Dad.
Yeah. That fun fact though, Britt finally told me that they don't exist anymore. They're not a band.
Yeah, they broke
anymore.
up several years ago.
Well,
I got some stuff from their online store when they broke up. It was on sale.
Good for
What
you.
was super awesome this weekend? Jake?
K-State beating the brakes off TCU. I don't know what's better. The K-State offense putting up 400 yards and a half, or TCU's offense looking like like Emporia High School's offense. Like, holy cow. That
Damn,
was a
man.
shot at Emporia High School. They didn't need
Damn.
that. That was
It's been a tough year for the Spartans,
Yeah, I know.
man.
They didn't need that. Anywho, it was more so more an emphasis on K-State's defense was dominant.
Yes.
They really, really were.
They didn't let
Ooh.
TCU do much of anything. And
Anything.
if not for pass interference on a 3rd and 15 in the first quarter by Will Lee, who K-State welcomed back and had played some corner this week, TCU would not have scored. Like that, sustained that drive. I know it was a backup quarterback, a freshman, first start on the road. That dude lit up BYU for 400 plus last week. And Amani Bailey, he had 2 big runs, but he came in averaging like 6-7 yards a carry. I think he led the conference in yards per carry coming in, and K-State just gave him crumbs. Just absolutely no chance.
Destroyed them. I was impressed with everything. The back and forth QBs, it's a unique situation, but we are in a unique situation in the college world right now because you got to make sure that you keep your players happy while also trying to win at the same time. Maybe this was a very good situation for K-State because, hey, Will Howard, if you stop throwing interceptions, you'll play a lot more. Hey, Will Howard, if you have some competition that raises your game because you want to play more, maybe that's what occurred. Because if you just take that game, Will Howard had the better game.
Yes, he did.
He did. Like, that's not a knock toward Avery Johnson because he brings something to the table differently than Will Howard. But if you just take that game, Will Howard threw the football very well. But I will say this. If Avery Johnson can throw the bucket throw like he did on his first pass attempt down to,
Jace Brown.
Who, by the way,
had you heard of Jace Brown 2 weeks ago? Was that a name you were intimately familiar with?
No, but he's a dude now.
He's K-State's best receiver.
Yeah.
He's our best guy. True freshman, best guy.
If Avery Johnson can do that, y'all, that's happy learned how to putt moment.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are in big trouble because then you gotta you can't put everybody in the damn box.
It's always fun when everybody in the press box makes the same noise after a play, whether it's like ooh after a big hit or laughter after like a dumb penalty or something. Everybody going, whoa, some form or fashion of whoa, when Johnson hit that throw to Brown along the sideline. That was pretty cool. And that was like a realization. Oh yeah, he's got like this feel and touch for making some deep throws that are going to enable K-State to move the ball through the air capably while he's on the field. Now, Johnson did play well. He also had some freshman moments, took a bad sack, kept the ball on some plays he probably shouldn't have kept the ball on, took a delay of game penalty while he was out there. Like, Howard was the better quarterback on Saturday. And I don't know that they can keep rotating guys. Kleiman explicitly said after the game that's not their preference and probably isn't something they can keep doing. It was a bullet they had to fire once. And boy, did they fire it and hit their target on Saturday. Moving forward, though, if Will Howard had to win his job back in any appreciable way, he did on Saturday, to the point where I think you feel comfortable going into Houston and going to Austin in 2 weeks with Will Howard taking the snaps and with Avery Johnson being that change of pace option that can maybe wake up or spark a slumbering offense.
And I think that is a better way to handle it than truly doing a 2 quarterback rotation. And Kleiman said as much. I mean, you were there for his post game, Dan. I mean, it said, hey, this maybe isn't the best approach always, but it worked today. And frankly, looking at the rest of the Kansas State schedule, like if they went out and they went in with the same plan, like we're going to split quarterback snaps 55-45 next week against Houston, it's probably going to work out just fine because K-State is a much better team than Houston is. And K-State should be able to put up plenty of points on Houston's defense. 2 weeks from now in Austin against Texas, you might not be able to get away with that. 4 weeks from now, just under a month from now when they play KU, if KU's playing at its best, you might not be able to get away with that. So that is why I have said over and over that I don't like doing the quarterback rotation thing. But if you're going to use it, Johnson is so uniquely skilled for the quarterback position and has so many unique talents at that position, you can still make it work. But I do think when you get to the harder games on the schedule, you want to see one guy.
Your
If things are not going
your
well,
experienced veteran out there making the plays, and then if you need a jolt, you have it. It's there. But this isn't like the old, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback.
You're right.
Where when you say that, and Tim, our friend Tim Fitzgerald made this point on one of his daily deliveries at Go Power Cat, that's usually the case when you don't know if you have a guy that you can win with. Chris Kleiman said in his press conference last week, we have two guys we can win with. They absolutely do. They can win with either guy. And that's pretty exciting to have two guys who are that good at the position at the same time.
The unique thing too and some people will say, well, why even put Avery out there every now and then? Here's the reason why. During games, every now and then, you put in Avery Johnson at quarterback. You got a defensive back who or a linebacker doesn't see it, or is so focused on getting lined up and seeing the formation. And normally it's Will Howard at quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they run zone read and Avery's in there and he keeps it. You take one false step at that linebacker spot because you think it's Will Howard, or you're just ingrained where, okay, I'll be in a good enough spot to go here, and it's Avery Johnson. It's over.
It's much different.
It's a touchdown. So there are going to be times where he'll come in for a play, or he'll come in for two plays and then come out. I'm okay with that because Avery Johnson still has the ability to throw the football.
Yeah,
as we've seen. Also, I want to, we talked about the defense. Desmond Purnell,
balling out.
He has been terrific. The Hayden kid, 5 tackles, a half a sack, half tackle for loss, an interception. I mean, and he's just a sophomore. Like, he's playing so well. That's what's so cool to see about K-State's defense, is that one of the kids is a local kid who's playing. I mean, all conference level type of
he's
stuff.
been that good.
Mufta.
The one other final thought I had from the game, I had the entire game on. It was on our main screen the entire time the game was going on Saturday night. I started doing chores with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. I told Abby hates it when I say this game is over, like anytime before the final whistle blows. I told her when it was 21-0 or 21-3, I said, yeah, this game's over. Like, TCU doesn't belong on this field. And I started doing chores.
I tweeted at the end of the third quarter, go do the dishes.
Yeah. Like, I did not need to see anything else to be able to analyze this game. Like, I looked up and I saw it and I was kind of on my phone. And I was like, yes, TCU does not belong on this field tonight. Which is kind of wild, but that says a lot about K-State.
I did not do chores because I was tired. So I sat and watched the game.
Congrats.
Coming up next, we'll talk a little Chiefs offense here on 580 Sports Talk. Daily Sports Talk, hour number 3 here on this Victory Monday. Jacob Vaughn, Brendan Orzinski, Dan Lucero with you. We're going to get to more Chiefs discussion. Andy Reid met with the media today. We'll hear from Big Red coming up at the bottom of the hour. A lot of injury news. Happening in the Big 12. In the NFL. Injuries start to take its toll midway through the season. And it has definitely shown. The biggest news is that Quinn Ewers is going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. That could play a big factor in the game in 2 weeks against the Texas Longhorns.
Arch.
Team Arch?
Arch. I want to see Arch. What's the other guy's name?
Malik Murphy.
Malik. I'm sure he is a fine young man, and I'm sure he's a heck of a football player. Arch. Because either he's going to play, and it's going to be, oh my God, there really is another one. Or it is going to be a spectacular calamity for Texas. And that, my friends, would be so funny. Arch.
Show me the Manning.
Show me the Manning. Hey, must be the Manning.
He might be the difference in them going to the Big 12 title game and not.
Why can't K-State win that game in 2 weeks?
They certainly can.
Why not? At this point,
if Ewers is playing is healthy.
I think the way K-State played this Saturday, we could talk about them winning that game with Ewers, because Texas, to me, they get stuck in the red zone. They leave a lot of money on the table. And Kansas State's really good in the red zone.
I didn't realize when watching the Houston Texas game, I didn't realize that Ewers got hurt, and now it makes sense. They were up big early and then couldn't do anything in the second half offensively.
It was a bit of a hangover week for a lot of good teams.
Oklahoma definitely did not think Central Florida was any good, and Central Florida gave them all they wanted and
could have gotten them. And then Gus Malzahn calls a trick play on a 2-point conversion because he just can't help himself.
Yeah.
What do you think UCF's record is since they announced that Gus Malzahn extension?
0-2.
0-3.
They are 0-3. No, you are technically right, Dan. They are 0-2. They announced it 2 days after they had lost to Baylor in horrific fashion.
Yeah.
But in general, UCF has now lost 4 games in a row. Their 3 wins this year were over Kent State, a bad Boise State team, and Villanova.
The last-second field goal to win over Boise State.
And when you have a chance to give a coach a huge pay increase, you just got to do it. You just got to do it, especially when you get that. So
yeah, bad timing for that.
Some big injuries, big injuries.
They've got a good chance though the rest of the way because they still play 2 other newcomers.
Lance Leipold said that Jalen Daniels is improving, but I don't know if he's going to go this Saturday. Interesting thing, game day and Big Nude Saturday going to be at Lawrence, but Joel Klatt and Charles Davis are going out to
Gus Johnson.
Who did I say?
Charles Davis.
Yeah, Gus Johnson.
Jake's favorite color commentator.
Yeah, I don't like Charles Davis.
No, game day is not going to be there.
Game day won't be there. Game day is going to be Utah.
Yeah.
Game day is at Salt Lake City. But Big Noon.
Big Noon, yeah.
Big Noon kickoff will be there.
Game day and the big play-by-play crew for Fox are going to be in Utah for Utah, Oregon.
Yeah.
But the Big Noon crew will be in Lawrence. I think Gus is a coward. I think Gus might be a coward. I don't think he wants to call KU. They wouldn't show up in person in the COVID year when KU ended up on Big Noon Saturday because literally every other game got canceled.
He's heard some stories about the elevators up to the David Booth Memorial Stadium press box, and he says, I don't want any part of that.
Might take 8 years to get up there.
Yeah. Shout out to Gus, by the way, for inventing a player's nickname out of whole cloth on Saturday and then doing a commercial for the product. Basically, he's doing a Maserati commercial in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
After he decided to call Marvin Harrison Jr. Maserati Marv.
Here's the thing about that nickname in particular. It sucks.
It's not good.
It's very bad.
I kind of love it. Sounds like a mixtape rapper. I think Maserati Marv has a feature on one of the Cameron albums in the early 2000s.
But some
Had a
injuries,
whole verse on a Smoke Perp song.
injuries had some issues. Nick Bolton going to be out for a while. That's a bummer because he's been playing very, very well.
He has been. By the way, while we're talking college football real quick, Mark mentions BYU got a Big 12 win.
They did.
Yeah, on the YouTube comments. Yeah, they
Texas-
beat Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, where's that thing going? I'm a little less certain about the direction of where that thing's headed under Joey McGuire now
Do you
than I
remember
was when the
do you
season
remember when
started.
Texas Tech was like the team that
Sure.
was going to come from nowhere? And
Shout
be
out Brett
the
McMurphy
team?
having them in their his preseason top 10.
He was
The
a believer.
team. The team.
Here's
The team.
college teams, college football teams, so often, like they are what they are after a certain period of time. Not for everyone. K-State has changed its reputation over the last 30 years, obviously. But like you reflect your population, you reflect where you're from more than any other sport and where they're from. That's why I think this year's been full of growing pains for Wisconsin. Wisconsin, big, beefy farm folks, and they've tried to go like air raid finesse, and they have had some major growing pains this year. That's not what wins there. Texas Tech is weird. It is awkward. It is kind of unwanted. West Texas, but you show up there and you might get stuck. You might get trapped. You might not make it out
Your
alive.
car might blow up.
Like that's like you might get stuck in a haboob and never get out. Like that's kind of what life in West Texas is like. And that's what playing Texas Tech is like. If you expect more than that, you're going to be disappointed. If you completely overlook it, you're going to be disappointed. This is just sort of what Tech is and has been literally forever. Save for like 3 Mike Leach seasons.
That game was at BYU, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See?
Altitude.
See? That's the only game I'm worried about for Oklahoma. That playing there is, and they smacked Tech. It wasn't even a game. I know Dan was frustrated because he had Tech covering that one, and they got smacked after getting smacked by TCU. So transitive property, TCU should smack BYU.
Thursday night, I don't know what the NFL game is Thursday night. We've got the Big 12 Bad Vibes Bowl, though, in Lubbock. TCU Tech, Thursday night.
I might rather watch that than Buccaneers Bills.
Yeah, that's what it is. Bucks Bills.
Bucks Bills.
Also, not great vibes there.
No.
That Bucks game was wild for all the wrong reasons, and the Bills just lost to the Patriots.
Man, if you can't lose to Desmond Ridder.
Dude, I know I spent way too much time last Monday talking about how bad he is, and I know they won that game. And shoot, I bet on them again. They won the game. He is unbearably bad.
Yeah,
like watching him play, you think, how did you get to Cincinnati? Like how did you even get to that level?
He made one big time throw to Pitts on their game-winning drive, but he also fumbled the ball twice inside the 2-yard line.
Oh my God.
Which sounds like it should be impossible.
After an interminably long review into a play by, I think it was Drake London.
Yes.
Did
He
he fumble?
landed
Did he
on his
score?
face.
Yeah, I said to Abby, hey, look how vertical he got. She went, ow, as his neck compressed. One play later, he fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. Like,
also
get a clue, please.
The offense for the Bucks need to be, hey, Mike Evans, go deep. We'll throw it to you.
Chuck it up. I know Baker can do that.
That's
a 7-step drop and launch it.
Throw it to number 18 or 19
13.
or
Can we
13.
stop talking about all of the great moments in Dan's gambling losses this weekend and focus
Did
up
you
on
have the
Chiefs?
Bucks?
Oh, yes.
No.
I was fading Ritter.
No.
It was smart. It was good process. Bad result.
Hey, can we talk about how I ended up with a winning week because Isaiah Pacheco scored on a screen pass?
That's pretty nice. I didn't even remember. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm out for Survivor Pool, by the way.
I didn't want to bring that up.
No,
All right, Brandon.
Are we down to 2?
Down to 2.
Again, process was good. The Packers needed a win to say they were alive for anything this season, and I was banking that they would. And then they pooped in their pants like they were 6 months old, and it's over, which is fine. And I had the Browns -3. Okay, so yeah, I ended up having a losing week too. Sick.
Yep, well, Pacheco.
Sick.
I'm good at the college game, bad at the pro game apparently right now. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to pick the college game, and then I'm going to pick the pro game. But then I'm going to do the opposite of what I would pick. So if I think, oh, I'm going to take the Browns -5 this week, I'm going to do the opposite.
So I totally understand where you're coming from. Here's the problem with that. That's literally the Fulton Caster approach. Is that where you want to go?
With the NFL, yes, because I've been really bad at that.
Okay.
I've been really bad at that. I think I'm 0-4 my last 2 weeks in our picks in the NFL.
I took a bath yesterday. The under in Cleveland, Indianapolis. That's how my day went. Cleveland almost went over by them damn selves. It was 40.5.
Yeah. College, I'm good. And my
donating money to our friends in the desert all weekend. Anyway, the Chiefs. What do you say we talk about?
They covered. The Chiefs covered a spread.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They've I mean, that's what, at least 2 straight weeks they've done it. They didn't cover against the Jets, but they covered against Denver.
They covered against the Vikings.
Covered against the Bears. Yeah, they've covered 4 of the last 5 at least.
Look at them.
I think they covered against the Jags too. So since the opener, yeah, they've covered 5 out of 6.
Super Bowl back on. Maybe it was never off.
Yeah, always has been.
It's always been a means to the end. Like, that's the thing about, and I say this, but even my wife has said to me at times, you're much calmer watching the Chiefs now. And 2 Super Bowls will do that for you. But also knowing that how they play now doesn't really factor in how they're going to play in January. Look at how maybe you guys will get there at some point in time, maybe get a little, we'll get a little old, but the older I'm getting, the more calmer I am. Maybe it's because the Chiefs have a good defense now. Maybe it's because the offense is starting to get a little bit better.
Your team also just won the Super Bowl.
And that's part of the reason
I would
why.
imagine that's probably why.
But
I was a lot calmer during the 22. I was a lot calmer during this past KU basketball season than I normally am. Because the year before they won a title.
You should be calm this year.
Relatively.
Yeah, you get 2 years. After 2 years, then you can.
I always thought it was 3.
You get 3?
I think for your mental health, 3 is probably the.
Well, yeah. But the Chiefs offense in this is what we were going to talk about, the Chiefs offense during this segment before, gambling took over. Well, that happens. They scored 31 points and had 2 turnovers. It's always been about, prior to it, it's the Chiefs offense this year. When I say prior to it, this year is didn't get open, couldn't make plays. The
splash plays weren't there.
And penalties here and there. Whereas in years previous, when I say years previous, I mean 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22, it all came down to the only reason they didn't score, it was because of a hold or a turnover, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't turn it over, they were either going to score, get a touchdown, field goal, or it was due to self-inflicted stuff. They controlled everything. Now, some of it prior to this game, and even a little bit in the Bronco game, was, can the offense get it going? Can they get open? Can they make the block? Plus the turnover, self-inflicted stuff. The last 2 games makes you feel like this offense is starting to figure it out, because if you look at it, Kelsey's a machine. That's always nice. But in the second half, where they had 3 straight punts, one of them is because they're still playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know why. I mean, if he catches that, it might be a first down.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
It hit him in the face. Like, I went back to the tweeter play. Oh my gosh, it's a football. Oh, catch it.
He heard Derwin James' footsteps, I think, is the only logical explanation.
But the problem was Derwin James was like 9 yards away.
Yeah, and also you're an NFL player. Catch the ball. That's the biggest problem.
And the other, they got sacked. And as Matt Verderame said, you're not going to score on every drive.
No.
And then the other one was, Travis Kelce, I don't want to say it was a drop, because it was a tough play.
He definitely felt like he should have caught it.
Oh, yeah, buddy. I will give credit. Tony Romo is right. Open hand, Trav. Open hand when you're smacking the ground. Do not clench your fist, my guy. Open hand. That's how you break your hand and your fingers, man. You got open hand slap the grass. But if you look at it, here are the drives. Field goal, touchdown, interception, touchdown, fumble, iffy call.
Yeah, terrible call, I thought.
Punt, touchdown. That's 10 drives. They had 4 touchdowns, 1 field. If you're scoring on half your drives, you're golden, folks. You're golden. 30 of those drives were a punt. It's the turnover drives. You know, I'd like to see McCole maybe do a little bit more if you have to tackle the dude.
I will never get upset about a deep ball interception on a 3rd and long. Like that's a punt to me.
Honestly,
go ahead and take the chance. I'm fine.
Yeah,
that's the turnover in the NFL that you can live with.
And the issue is in this game, it was the turnovers. You know, if they don't get the fumble, you don't turn it over, that type of thing. The offense starting to gear it up a little bit, which this is what you're hoping for. Next week, we'll see what's going to happen against the Broncos. And then you got the Dolphins, then the bye week. So the offense starting to make it click here a little bit, which is kind of exciting to see. Really, really is. Coming up next, we got What Is Wrong With You? And then we'll hear from Andy Reid.
What is wrong with you time? The first of the week here on 580 Sports Talk. Brought to you, as always, by Top City Metal Supply. They cut the metal you need to your specifications, and that saves you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to metal at Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. I I was just about to mention that I had another What Is Wrong With You from the weekend. And now oh, yes. From that Falcons-Bucks game we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard, but Bijan Robinson apparently had a tummy ache.
Yeah. Didn't play
all game. And Arthur Smith was like, oh, yes, he might not be able to go. He is feeling sick. And then they gave him one carry in the fourth quarter on one of the final drives of the game. Maybe the final drive of the game. Why? Why did any of this happen? Were they trying to cover up that they definitely did not disclose that he was ill and they should have put him on the injury report? I don't know. So the Atlanta Falcons got a What Is Wrong With You from me this weekend because they held out their star running back with a case of I don't feel good. And then they played him for one snap.
Yeah, that was weird.
I had a buddy in my no one cares about my fantasy league, but I had a buddy in one of my fantasy football leagues who was losing his mind, who had Bijan Robinson.
No, I don't blame him. That's a tough break.
Or it's Bijan now, right? I believe there was a correction on how to pronounce his name this season, but I don't remember now. I don't remember. Either way, I'll figure it out. We have two stories before I commit my own What Is Wrong With You. And they're both stellar. I will say that because I took a little sneak peek. I think they're both pretty good. I'm going to go first here.
Okay.
And we're going down to Marion County, Florida, where a lengthy high-speed chase ended with a Florida man crashing through a fence before breaking one of his own car windows and diving onto the ground. It was all caught on dash cam video. On October 15th at 4:29 a.m., Marion County deputies say they observed a man later identified as Tyler Fakensolo leaving the Circle K. Oh, I got an ad pop up. Hold on. Leaving a Circle K on Mary Camp Road at a high rate of speed. Fakensolo reportedly ran a red light and was unable to maintain his lane, which prompted an officer to attempt a traffic stop. Except the man didn't stop. Dashcam footage showed Fakensolo speeding before driving onto the wrong side of the road, before then turning around to head in the opposite direction in order to evade officers. The video shows Fakensolo then running a red light and driving on the wrong side of the road twice more before turning onto side streets. Another deputy deployed stop sticks that defaulted Fakensolo's tires, but he continued to drive until eventually, on his flat tires, crashing into a fence in someone's backyard. As the car remained stationary, and you can imagine the police were approaching, Fakensolo can be seen headbutting the window and then flopping out of the car, falling onto the ground before hopping over a fence. He eventually was apprehended and arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol, aggravated fleeing with injury or damage, and resisting without violence. See, I disagree with that. There sounds like a lot of violence against his own car.
Yeah.
He headbutted the window out. Do you know how drunk you have to be to headbutt the window of your car and break it? Like, that's not flimsy glass.
No, that's like I can defeat and kill God in man-to-man combat. That's how I'm feeling right now. That's the kind of strength that is.
We have some further details in a report from the New York Post. Fakensolo was taken to a local hospital where he admitted that he was, quote, high as F. I will let you fill in the remaining three letters. High as bleep. He topped out at over 100 miles an hour while driving, by the way. And somebody described him, and I got to make sure I can source who had this quote. But one of the deputies who was involved in the chase said that he flopped out of the car, quote, like a dolphin.
That rules. That's a great visual.
Truly just flopping out of the car.
Like a high as F dolphin. Majestic animals.
Hopefully he was able to
beautiful creatures
sober up before getting taken in.
All right, for my story today, do you remember the 2020 What Is Wrong With You champion?
Yes, the wrong home demolition.
Yeah, well, it happened again.
Oh,
we're going to Atlanta.
No.
An unforgivable accident. That's how one Atlanta homeowner describes coming back from vacation to find that a company accidentally demolished a home she owned. I'm just left with a big old mess, says Susan Hodgson, who can't even begin to process how her longtime family property ended up a pile of rubble. It started while she was on vacation and received a call from a neighbor. Did you hire somebody to tear your house down next door to me?
That is an unbelievable question to ask a person.
While I'm on vacation. That's what you call and you ask me. It's been boarded up for about 15 years. And I said, no. And she said, well, there's someone over here who just demolished the whole house, tore the entire house down. There's a picture here. It's gone. There is no longer a house.
There's some steps.
Yeah.
A railing.
Looks like we got a basement.
Yeah, it's a split level home.
Yeah.
It was. I can't get over that. Did you hire somebody to tear your house down next to me?
Hodgson says the workers got nasty when confronted. He told her to shut up and mind her own business. That's the neighbor, presumably.
Oh, my God.
When she went over to say, hey, are you sure you're supposed to be tearing that house down? She was told, shut up, mind your own business.
Yikes.
She sent a family member over who said, I want to see a permit or something. And the guy pulled it out and said, oh, I'm at the wrong address. And he just packs everything up and leaves, and the house is just gone.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, wrong address. Yep. Oh, yeah, that's tough. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll have a nice day now. No one was living inside the home at the time. It's been boarded up about 15 years. The homeowners keep it boarded, covered. The grass is cut. The yard is clean. The taxes are paid, and everything is up on it. Hodgson says she hasn't heard anything from the company responsible named You Call It, We Haul It, based in Atlanta. Hodgson said it's just hard to believe someone thinks they have the right to just come and tear something up and walk away from it and didn't come back and say, I'm sorry. What do I need to do to fix this? It was an accident. They didn't give me nothing. Hodgson and her family must figure out what to do next. I think he owes us an apology and he needs to fix the problem, Hodgson said. The problem is the house is in a million pieces.
Yeah. All right. So this is, I guess, luckily not a house that people were actively living in this time.
Well, the wrong home demolition wasn't either. That was a home that was being actively renovated.
That's true.
But there still weren't any residents. It was being worked on. The idea was that someone eventually it was somebody's like it was a hand-me-down house. It was a home that had some sentimental value to the people that owned it, and they were fancying it up, and somebody came and tore it down. They were like 2 blocks off from the right address.
Yeah.
We don't even have that much detail from this. Just people showed up, tore down this house, and granted, it had been boarded up for 15 years. Like that's a long time to keep a house boarded up.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I mean, it seems like they keep the property up.
Yeah.
And who knows what they're going to do with that house? Rent it, sell it. Like, it's strange to keep it boarded up for 15 years, but look, I'm not here to judge.
No.
I've never owned a property for that long. But to get a phone call on your vacation, hey, did you mean to have your house torn to smithereens? Because that just happened. And the people who did it were very nasty to me.
This one wins for today. Although I do love the visual of a guy flopping out of his car like a dolphin after headbutting his window. But to be asked, did you hire somebody to tear your house down next to me? is just so funny to me. I can't get over it. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Well, just how flippant they were too. Like, oh yeah, whoops, wrong address, and then just to leave. I cannot imagine doing that. I hope they pay for, I don't know, rebuilding the house or something. There's got to be some sort of restitution. Yeah, that's the winner for today, though. I ain't pretty easily. I assume that's your vote as well.
Yes, that is mine.
That is our. Did you hire somebody to tear your house down next to me? That is so funny. That is our winner today in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. They have metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Coming up on the other side of this break, on this Victory Monday edition of the show, we will hear from the victorious head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid. He spoke to the media earlier on today. We'll hear what Big Red had to say coming up on the other side of this timeout on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan back here with you on 580 Sports Talk on this Monday, October 23rd, saying thank you so much for hanging out with us today. By the way, unanimous agreement on the YouTube comment section today for our winner and what is wrong with you. Very, very strong story for a Monday.
Tore down the wrong house and then just whoops and leave.
Oh, well.
Well, I guess it really do be like that sometimes. And leave.
Oh, man. That is too funny.
Amazing.
Andy Reid spoke earlier on today, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, following their win over the Los Angeles Chargers. How many wins in a row is that over the Chargers now?
4.
4? Yeah, I was gonna say
end of 2020 was 21.
Yeah,
22,
they played in 21.
Yeah, 21, 22, 23.
So
it'll be 5, I think, unless they lost in. No, they lost to them in 21, so I think it is 4.
yeah, it just depends on when. Was that the first game of the year they played or the second
I
one?
think it was the first.
It was the first that they lost to the Chargers. So yeah, 4 straight wins over the Chargers. And pretty good. Pretty darn good over the team that's been the best in the division, although realistically and admittedly, not that it's had any negative impact on the Chiefs, it has not been an especially good division recently. Remember last year, supposed to be like the greatest quarterback division ever with Mahomes and Herbert and Wilson, and wow, if Derek Carr is your 4th best quarterback, that's dang good.
Right.
Derek Carr is awful, by the way. He stinks.
Yeah, it was grim watching him on Thursday night.
Ugh, just terrible.
And they still
terrible to
should have
watch.
won that game if poor Foster Moreau doesn't drop that pass in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it sucks.
Felt bad for him. That guy's been through a lot.
A lot. Anyway, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday. Eventually, you saw it full screen once the Browns game ended. Let's hear what Andy Reid had to say about that game, some injury updates, and more. Here is Chiefs head coach Andy Reid speaking earlier on today at 1 Arrowhead Drive.
So very much like last night or evening, what I said after the game, I thought really all 3 phases contributed. The defense, I thought, played very well. Mentioned Spags had a nice game plan for him. The coaches, I thought, presented it well, and then the players just played their hearts out. I mean, they left it all out there, and I thought just did a great job. Really, all 3 levels: defensive line, linebackers, and the secondary all had a good game. That second half was spectacular. I mean, to be able to shut out an offense like that's a tough thing to do. They're very, very gifted, and that quarterback's a pretty sharp guy. So, and then offensively, anytime that you can get that kind of yardage and that many points in the National Football League against a rival team that's a good football team, that's a tough thing again to do. And so Matt Nagy had a nice game plan, and the guys, all the coaches there contributed to that, and then the players did a great job there. So whether it was Pat throwing the football, Kels doing his thing, the offensive line blocking, so on. So, I mean, all the receivers, it was great to get Quez in the mix. I mentioned that. Everybody contributed. And then getting Omenihu back in on the defensive side, I thought was a nice addition. Getting McCole back in on special teams was a nice addition, and the few plays that he played on the offensive side, he had 11 or 12 plays on the offensive side. So that was a good thing too. So, but all in all, a good win. We're already deep into Denver right now, so we're putting this one aside from a coaching standpoint and working on Denver. But whatever questions you have there, fire away.
Hey, Andy. Omenihu yesterday looked a little bit like maybe Chris Jones did in his first game back down in Jacksonville. It was hard to tell those guys had been gone. Do you remember what he said to you as he was walking out before his suspension, or maybe what you said to him, anything like that? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah, just that he had a place to work out. He was going to stay on top of it. He had really worked hard during training camp. So, I mean, he put in a lot of extra time there at training camp and got himself in good shape and kind of understood what we were about here. And he wanted to play in the preseason games. He wanted to get enough reps there so he could have a little bit of that muscle memory coming back. And then he busted his tail. I mean, you got to hand it to the kid. When he was away, he worked hard and was able to come back in good shape. Now, I'm not telling you that he's not going to be sore today. I mean, he'll be sore, and but he's a tough kid. He'll work through it.
Okay, and your 4-man rush was particularly effective yesterday. Something you can put your finger on as to why that was?
Well, that's a good offensive line. So, but I'd tell you that I thought our guys worked well together. I thought Joe had a good plan for him up front, Joe Cullen, and we have talent there. The guys I mentioned this last night that Mike Dana, he doesn't get mentioned much. George doesn't get mentioned much. Noddy, all these guys kind of get buried in the mix, but those are all good football players, and not that Chris doesn't deserve the accolades. I mean, he definitely does. He plays at a very, very high level, and arguably one of the best, the best or one of the best in this league at what he does. So then you had Charles in the mix here. That's good stuff. So, it's a good group.
Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up if you don't mind. When it comes to the wide receiver room, Coach, I know that we talked a lot about Rashee Rice recently, but it seemed like Justin Ross's snaps were up. Was that a game-specific type of deal, or is it something that you have seen kind of lately that has led to let's try to get him some more work?
Yeah, we're trying to bring him along here, and so I know he didn't have the catches, but he was in on quite a few plays. And I just think the more of that, the better for him. He's got a lot of talent, and we want to keep bringing him along.
And then just about Nick Bolton, is there any status update right now there? Do you anticipate that he'll maybe miss a few games here?
P, I'm not sure yet. Those guys are working through all that now. So, but we'll have that for you later today or whenever.
And Brad, I'll have a follow-up as well. Coach, MVS, he may be, this is probably his best day. He brings obviously a certain skill set to it. What was it, more what Denver did as to why he could shine, or is there something that, he's changed, Pat's changed? Why did he have such a day?
Yeah. I thought we had good stuff in for him that popped, so we normally have a handful of plays in there that have his name on them. But sometimes the coverage is different. There's a few things that go into that, but he had opportunities today where he ran good routes, or Pat was scrambling and found him. Pat, I know, has a lot of trust in him. So, but that yesterday they popped. So,
not a lot of talk about your offensive line, which, as we know, is usually a good thing, but 42 dropbacks for Pat and only 1 sack against, certainly high priced and big name guys. What did you see in your offensive line, and how is it coming along?
Yeah, good. That's a really good defensive line and skilled and in the pass rush area. My hat goes off to the offensive line. They knew how good they were. They played against them before, so it's a battle all the way through. It's actually fun to kind of watch that. I mean, that matchup there is something. So, but our guys stepped up. They did a nice job, and the guys that helped out with chips and slams and those things in there also were effective.
Hello, Coach. I know that Kadarius Toney has played through a number of injuries this season, but I just wonder, given that he's been on the field for these last 7 games, just where do you feel his role is with the offense and how he's done so far? far. And Broad will have a follow-up as well.
Yeah, I'd tell you this, Nate. How great is that, man? I mean, he's stacking games, and for him, he's a great kid. So for him to be able to do that, even though he didn't have a whole lot of cases, he had a chance for a big one down the end zone there, and Pat threw it to Kelsey. That he was wide open on it, and so he's doing a nice job for us. And he had a couple plays where he popped, and we didn't see him. So whether it was pressure or Pat just went to somebody else there. So, but he's doing a good job, and I love the fact that he's stacking games here. That's it's great for him, and it's also great for the team.
And secondly, Andy, you and Brett this offseason signed Drew Tranquil and Mike Edwards each to 1-year deals. They're playing a quality number of snaps. Just, is this going the way you all envisioned, or is there even, perhaps better production considering it's both of their first years in the system with Spagnuolo?
Well, we were excited to get both of them, and because we knew what kind of players they were. Brett does a great job with all that. I'm saying we. I mean, he's the one doing this, not me. So he does a phenomenal job with that, but having played against them, I knew those are good football players, and adding them into the mix is a beautiful thing. So, anyways, that's wherever it goes from here. I can't tell you that. I don't know that, but I would tell you that we're glad we have them.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. Couple of questions for you. Yesterday when the Chargers going up tempo in the first half, some of the defensive guys talked about took some adjustments to get used to. Could that have been a situation where in the past, when maybe you don't have the depth that you do right now, that could have been a problem with guys getting a little bit gassed and tired in the second half?
Well, it might have. But I'll say yes. I mean, I don't know how to measure that other than we rotate all the time. So, and we were even rotating during their no huddle stuff. Our guys were getting in and out on it, which was pretty good. But yeah, I would say it does help to have the depth for sure.
And on the big play that the Chargers had with Palmer on that 60-yard play, Brian Cook had maybe a similar play to how he had against Breece Hall a few weeks ago against the Jets. Getting him down and keeping them out of the end zone on what could have been a big play. Even though the Chargers do score there, is there a momentum difference to you when your defense is able to keep a team from maybe hitting 75 yards on a big play versus making them work for it a little bit more there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to. The big ones, you don't like the big ones, Matt. You said it exactly right. You want to make, if they're going to score, you want them working for every inch of that thing. And I know that's something that Spags preaches. No easy downs. Make it as hard as you possibly can on that opposing team. And takeaways become important for us. That's what we're striving for.
Yeah, hey, Andy, I'm just curious from your experience over time in the NFL, how rare is it for a passing offense and a quarterback to have 300 yards passing by halftime? I know you guys have been able to do it twice now, you and Pat together with Tampa and then yesterday.
Yeah, no, listen, you could take me out of that mix. He does a phenomenal job with that. And when he's on fire like that, that's something that's fun to watch for all of us. And like I've said before, we're lucky to have him here in Kansas City.
That's Big Red. Andy Reid speaking earlier today at 1 Arrowhead Drive. Anything really stand out to you about what we heard from Andy today?
Just at the beginning, you could hear how excited he was about the defense, about how well they played, that all three levels of the defense are playing at a high level. And it's relatively new to Andy, at least as the Chiefs head coach in this current era of Chiefs football, to feel like this about a defense in October, Because all last year we talked about, it's a young group. If they just put it together and they're playing their best football in December and January, which Steve Spagnuolo coach defenses generally are, then that ought to be good enough with what you've got on offense to make this team a tough out and maybe get them to another Lombardi trophy in February. And that's exactly what happened. But we haven't seen what this looks like this early in a season with Andy Reid as head coach and with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. And I think that there should be legitimate excitement about what it could be if this defense continues to play at this high level and as the offense continues to improve.
I think, too, if you're Andy Reid and so much of your focus is on the offense, and we know Andy Reid's an offensive guy, that's fine, that's understandable. It makes your job so much easier knowing that you don't have to score on every single drive and you don't have to be in those situations where you're pressing quite that much. I mean, that only helps the Chiefs. That only helps this team long term. So that's obviously pretty encouraging for where this Kansas City team is going here in the near future. We'll get some more final thoughts on the Chiefs as we wrap up the 5 o'clock hour. Real quick before we get to the end of the 4 o'clock hour, we did our biggest takeaway from the NFL weekend. We got about a minute here. Give me the most lukewarm takeaway you can from this NFL weekend. It's technically a take, but it's nothing that was groundbreaking.
My most lukewarm NFL take from the weekend is that offensive line play is important, and the Dolphins struggled last night because their offensive line didn't play well because they're very banged up.
Yeah.
That's my lukewarm take. So if the Dolphins looked like that last night because the offensive line is in a rough spot, and that makes it hard for any team, no matter how fast your skill guys are.
I think mine is that the AFC North is as good as we thought it would be. They might not have a true bona fide top tier Super Bowl contender, but the Ravens are really good. I do think the Bengals are going to get back to a spot where they are contending for that division title. The Browns are kind of weird, but they've won the last 2 weeks, and that's all that ends up counting. And the Steelers are not going to die. They are going to be competitive because that's just what they do, and that's just what Mike Tomlin does. So of all the action from this weekend, you see the Browns win that thriller against the Colts. The Steelers knock off a decent Rams team. The Ravens murdered the Lions like they were Cecil the Lion circa 2015. That was as impressive as I think any division was all weekend long out of the AFC North. Let's get to a break for the news. We'll come on back, start off the 5 o'clock hour with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. now, final hour of 580 Sports Talk on a Victory Monday edition of the program. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He is Dan Lucero. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Every day you hang out with us. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy, and we appreciate you engaging with us, interacting with us here on 580 Sports Talk. You're welcome to do so on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And you can also hop on into the YouTube comment section. Our YouTube channel is called 580 Sports Talk. It's very simple and very easy finding us on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and search 580 Sports Talk. Boom. That's all you have to do. You'll find our channel. Make sure you subscribe. Check out. We're getting close to 400, by the way. I think at last check, we were at 363. I think that was the number we were at.
I think that's right.
No, pretty darn good. So if you want to go check us out, subscribe there. You can watch the live video stream of the show. You can go check out all of the stuff we did this weekend. Our Chiefs instant reaction post game, Dan's post game from the Bill after K-State dominated against TCU. Good viewership numbers for that one. The people were all over your recap of that game.
Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate people dialing in.
And we would love for you to check out all of our video content
Despite
on YouTube.
the decidedly amateurish camera work. Appreciate people watching that.
The last time KU was at home a few weeks ago, I guess it was the UCF game, I did all my post-game writing, went down to the field and recorded my post-game video on my phone from the field. And then I thought, well, you know what? I'm not going to go all the way back up just to come back down and leave. So I'm just going to upload it to everywhere it needs to go and put it into the story and everything before I walk home. So I just sat down on the field, like at the 10-yard line on the sideline. And people just kept walking by being like, are you comfortable there? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm only here for 5 minutes. And like every single facilities person at KU walked past me and gave me a weird look while I was down there. It's like, damn, I'm not the only person who ever worked on a football field before. Give me a break. Sheesh. I had folks at one of the TV stations even be like, you good? Yes, I'm fine. Why are you being weird about this? Leave me be. I've got work to do. Damn. All right, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to here in just a moment. We'll also take a look around the college football world from this weekend. We do it every Monday during the 5 o'clock hour. A lot to get to from college football this weekend, including I know their opponent wasn't very good. I am more convinced than ever that Michigan's the best team in the country. I don't think anyone's better than them. And they just took Michigan State, a bad Michigan State team, again, I admit. And they tarred and feathered them for 60 minutes. I mean, that was as dominant of a game as we've seen from anyone in college football this year. So we'll get to all that and much more, plus some final thoughts on the Chiefs coming up this hour. Your texts, your YouTube comments, all welcome as well. First headline I've got for you, and a great way to segue into this, our pal Mark in the YouTube comments. He says, good job on the Friday night game this week. Yeah, great game for the Seaman Vikings. They came from behind in the fourth quarter, knocked off the Piper Pirates 28-21. And that brings us to my first headline for today. The Kansas State Championship football brackets have come out. They came out in full late Friday night, first thing Saturday morning, so we know where all of our city teams will be going. We've got 5 of the 8 city programs hosting in the first round of the playoffs. That is pretty cool. Let's just go class by class. We'll start in the biggest class. 6A West, Washburn Rural, the number 1 seed in the 6A West and the only undefeated program out of all 32 in Class 6A. They will host winless Wichita North coming up at Bowen Glaze Stadium on Friday night. In the second round, assuming Rural does move on, they will play the winner of Junction City and Wichita Heights. Washburn Rural already has a 28-7 win over Junction City from earlier this season. Elsewhere, Topeka High, also obviously in the city. They are the 14 seed in the 6A West. They will go on the road to a foe that program knows pretty well from the last half decade or so. They will play Derby coming up on Friday night in Derby. Any other thoughts from the 6A brackets, East or West, that really stood out to you?
Just the West is so tough.
It's incredible.
I mean, any of the top, I would not be surprised if any of the top 9 seeds in the West went to the state championship game. I really would not. You could convince me, you could make an argument for the top 9 teams, which means after week 9, you don't have an easy game.
Nope.
and anybody can get got, and you've got to be sharp, and you've got to stay healthy, and you've got to get bounces. You got to, create your own luck. It's going to be so tough to get through the 6A West. Whoever represents the West bracket in the state championship game, they'll darn sure have earned it.
Rural is obviously phenomenal. Manhattan, if you still wanted to say Manhattan's the team to beat because they're the reigning state champs, the only game they lost was by 1 score at Rural, and you wanted to say that, I would certainly hear that argument. Derby's always tough. Wichita Northwest, some people thought during parts of this season they might be the best overall team in the entire state. The 5 seed is Wichita East, who Rural beat by 1 point in the first week of the season. Junction's an 8. That is extremely difficult.
They're the best player in the whole state on that team.
Yeah, that is remarkable. The Lawrence schools are 6th and 7th, I believe. Like, Free State as the 7 seed, that's terrifying. Like, if you're in the bottom half of the bracket, you don't want to see that team as the 7 seed. So it's crazy how deep 6A West is. By the way, not a surprise, but Gardner Edgerton is the number 1 team in the 6A East. Number 2 is Olathe North, the only team that beat Gardner Edgerton this year. On to Class 5A, where many of our local teams reside. We've got a couple of teams that'll be at home, including and I got to make sure I have the number right here, for the second year in a row, the 3 seed in the 5A East, Highland Park. They will be at home at Humber Sports Park on Friday night as they take on J.C. Harmon High School out of Kansas City. That is a team that Highland Park already beat this year, and I think it was 40-6 in that game. Yes, that is correct. So they whooped up on Harmon the first time they played. That's a good matchup for Highland Park. Glad they're going to get that one. And they, in the second round, if both favored teams win, might play the Shawnee Heights Thunderbirds. It's an old Centennial League matchup head-to-head. Shawnee Heights is your 6th seed in the 5A East. They will also be at home in Week 9. They will take on Sumner Academy out of Kansas City. I believe it was 2 seasons ago that Heights hosted Sumner in Week 9 and knocked them off in the first round of the postseason. So another good matchup there for Shawnee Heights. So we could have City versus City coming up in the regional round of the postseason.
That would be a lot of fun. We don't get that often enough anymore, so that would be fun.
That would be very, very fun. Also, Topeka Seaman. I don't know why I put Topeka in front. I'm just reading straight off the bracket here.
Yeah.
Seaman, they ended up the 9 seed, 1 slot out. That is because of Highland Park losing to Kansas City, Washington. Washington gets the 8 seed and the home game in Week 9. They will host Seaman. CalPreps.com. It's like analytics for high school football. Great website for this time of year. They say Seaman should be a heavy favorite in that matchup, which is something to keep an eye on. If Seaman wins, they would end up playing the number 1 seed, DeSoto, who is in the UKC, but did not play Seaman this year.
That was the only league game that Seaman did not play, because every UKC team in this 2-year cycle, there's 1 league team that they didn't play.
So that'd be a fun matchup. I'd be very intrigued by that. Also, we should note that Topeka West in their bracket, they are the 13 seed in the 5A East. They get the unpleasant privilege of playing Mill Valley in the opening round. Don't love that. We were talking about how deep the 6A West is. The 5A West, the 8 seed was 6-2 this year. A lot of good teams in the 5A West. Other brackets that involve our city teams. Hayden in Class 3A, they will be at home for likely the first 2 weekends. They will play Baldwin coming up on Friday at home, and then they will play either Royal Valley or Santa Fe Trail. That's a much improved Royal Valley team this year. A lot of credit to that program. They've taken a huge step forward.
Yes, they have. Yes.
As a huge credit to them. They've got a tough matchup with Santa Fe Trail, which had a really good year. 2 Pigskin and Hoops teams, in fact. They'll go head-to-head in Carbondale, and the winner of that will likely play Hayden in the second weekend in Class 3A. Down to 2A with the teams from the rest of the county. Rossville and Silver Lake got tough draws here, if we're being honest. It was always going to be tough knowing who is in their corresponding districts, but Silver Lake will play Minneapolis, a 4-4 Minneapolis team coming up Friday. That game will be at C.J. Hamilton Field. If Silver Lake wins, they will likely play Sabetha, which probably has an argument for being the best team in Class 2A.
Well, they did until Nemaha Central took it to them. On Friday night. I think Nemaha Central pretty clearly established themselves as the favorites in the class with that performance. 28-0. They're going on 24 quarters without having allowed a point. That's not bad.
It is not bad. What is not so great is that they will likely play Rossville in the second round. Should Rossville get through, the Bulldogs will take on Riley County. That's a fun Mideast League matchup in District 3 versus District 4 play in Class 2A. And the winner of that one will, again, in all likelihood, take on Nemaha
It's
Central.
just a monstrous regional. Like, there's
Oh,
a lot
crazy.
a lot of good football being played out here.
Osage City has had a great season. They're likely going to make it onto the regionals in that same half of the bracket. Just crazy in Class 2A. 1A, we'll mention this because we covered their state title run last year. St. Mary's won their district again. Undefeated against 1A teams again this year. 0-3 against the higher classes. 5-0 against Division 1A or Class 1A, including a good win over Jeff County North. They're going to take on Riverside in the opening round, and then either Jackson Heights or Mission Valley, a couple of Pigskin and Hoops teams in regionals. Finally, from 8-man Division 1, Care Paravel in the postseason for the first time. They were in a non-playoff Week 9 game last year, or were scheduled to play one anyway. This year, it'll play on Friday night. Don't know exactly where they will play this game yet. It hasn't been announced. But Care Paravel is going to take on Sedan in their opening round matchup. How cool for Care Paravel to get a home playoff game.
Very cool.
Very cool for them.
Do you know where Sedan is?
It is. Yeah, it's like extreme southeast Kansas, correct?
Sedan, yeah, it's down there a ways. I had it on a map and I lost it.
And I know that really only because of the Kansas High School Football Scoreboard Show.
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
It's southwest of Independence, so it's not like down by like Baxter Springs or anything, but it is southeast Kansas. Yes,
Okay.
More south than east.
Yeah, okay. It actually is a lot more west than I thought it was. Over by Cedarvale. Yeah, that's what I got for you.
On K99, it looks like.
Yeah. Okay, easy drive right down K99.
Yeah. Go to Emporia and head on south.
Head south from there. But that is a look at where all of our city and county teams will be playing and who they'll be playing coming up in Week 9.
I've said this before. There's so much South Kansas. Like there is just,
yeah, there really is.
And I say that as somebody who I lived in Wichita for a time, but most of the time I've spent in Kansas has been spent living along the I-70 corridor, if you will. When you got to go south, it just feels like you go forever and ever, and you still don't get to like the Oklahoma state line.
There is the 620 area code region is very big. It is very, very large. Yeah, just looking through southeast Kansas, I, until a couple of years ago, didn't really realize how many towns and schools that, like, I don't want to say real towns, that's insulting, but like towns that I have heard of are down in that corner of the state. Like Pitt's right on the border. Baxter Springs is right in the corner of the state. It's I've spent so little time down there, except a couple trips to Pittsburgh, that it's just very foreign to me.
All right, first headline for me. Let's do the AP top 25 in college football. Kansas State still not back into the top 25. They are the third team out this week, 28th if you want, the third most votes received by teams who are not ranked in the top 25. Their losses look better and better with each week as Missouri keeps racking up wins, and their game against Georgia this Saturday is one of the biggest games on the college football slate. And as Oklahoma State continues to rack up Big 12 wins, K-State's losses, 2 on the road by a combined 11 points and 1 coming at the buzzer on a 61-yard field goal. They look a little better in retrospect, which is kind of what happened to them last year.
Yeah.
Where like that loss to Tulane felt unforgivable at the time. And then you looked up and Tulane was beating USC in the Cotton Bowl. So I won't be surprised. I guess, I will be surprised with Kansas State because they beat Houston. Nobody's going to care. And then if they don't beat Texas, they'll have 3 losses. And that'll be their only chance of probably getting back into the top 25 before the season's out. They're going to have to beat Texas in 2 weeks. But the top 6 remain unchanged. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, and Oklahoma are your top 6 teams in the country. Texas and Oregon each move up a spot to 7th and 8th. Alabama's up 2 spots to number 9, and Penn State drops 3 spots to number 10. Your big risers this week are LSU and Missouri, both of whom are up 4 spots to 15 and 16, respectively. Your big fallers this week, Duke and Tennessee, each down 4 spots to 20th and 21st. Duke losing to Florida State, Tennessee losing to Alabama. North Carolina drops 7 spots to number 17 after they inexplicably lost to 1-win Virginia.
They should have fallen more, honestly.
And USC is still ranked for some reason. They dropped 6 spots to 24th in the top 25 after they lost at the gun to Utah. James Madison, welcome to the AP top 25 for the first time in program history. The Dukes are ranked at 7-0, 25th. They are the only newcomer this week as Iowa drops out.
Iowa did not even receive a vote. Dropped out, didn't get a single vote.
Reasonable, entirely reasonable.
That's so funny.
Goes to show you how different the coaches poll is. Like, they are right behind Kansas State and others receiving votes on the coaches poll.
Wow, that's really interesting. Not only is James Madison in for the first time in history, someone else made history this week, not by actually making the top 25. For the first time ever, UNLV received a vote in the AP poll.
How about that?
Has never happened before. That's a good team.
They are bowl eligible. 6-1. Barry Odom has done a tremendous job. Former Mizzou coach.
Yeah.
Has done a tremendous job at UNLV. And they got a big game coming up with Air Force in a couple of weeks. That's not one I would have circled on my calendar before the college football season started, but it's one I can't wait to watch. Air Force has to make it through their rivalry game with Colorado State unscathed before they get to UNLV. But unbeaten Air Force, still a thing. Still playing great football and still ranked. Air Force remained in the poll this week. They moved up 3 spots, number 19.
Mountain West is fun this year. A really good, fun league.
Yes, it is.
Really good football across the board. Speaking of the Associated Press, they also announced their preseason All-Americans for college basketball today. Can you believe that in 9 days we have preseason basketball?
I absolutely cannot believe that. No.
KU actually even sooner. KU has a game on TV in 6 days. Now, it doesn't count. It's an exhibition. But Kansas is going to play Illinois in a 40-minute scrimmage coming up on Sunday in Champaign. But KU plays Hayes, I believe it is, and K-State plays Emporia State coming up on Wednesday night.
I think that's right.
But our All-Americans preseason for college basketball. This is awesome. This is sick. 5 of them. Only 1 is a guard. The other 4 are big men.
Just goes to show you that college basketball is truly the land of the big man.
We've got Marquette guard Tyler Kolek. I get that. Makes sense. Reigning National Player of the Year, Zach Edey.
The only unanimous preseason first-team All-American, by the way.
Which is a little interesting to me. I thought the Kansas Jayhawk might be unanimous, too, to be frank. I thought Hunter Dickinson might be. I think you could have made an argument that Kyle Filipowski of Duke could have been, frankly, too. Both of them are all preseason All-Americans, and the same can be said for North Carolina center Armando Bacot. He's listed as a forward here. I mean, he's their primary big.
Yeah.
That's effectively a center. So you've got 3 blue blood centers that are preseason All-Americans, the reigning National Player of the Year, and then a guy from Marquette. That's the group.
Had to get a guard on there, I guess. A guard.
That's amazing. I would have loved to have known who else got votes, like who else was in the mix here. Do we have that information anywhere? Because they don't release a second or third team.
Sometimes the AP will tell you, but no, I don't see the votes on there. Usually it's their release that would say so.
Yeah.
But no, I don't see it.
I'm not really surprised by any of these. I mean,
No.
Dickinson, yeah, makes sense. Bacot is 40 years old. Kyle Filipowski, everyone thought he was. I think Duke thought he was leaving, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Zach Edey won National Player of the Year. It makes sense. Kolek's a good player. I'm sure there are others you could have argued for there, but Kolek's a good player. We're 9 days away. And we're just 14 days away, by the way, from the first actual meaningful games of the season.
That is something else.
Yeah, it's coming fast.
Yeah, it really is. Next headline for me, let's do our Major League Baseball playoff roundup. We are going to know at least one of the participants in the World Series by the end of tonight. We may know both, but the Arizona Diamondbacks have something to say about that as they have jumped out to a 3-1 lead on the Philadelphia Phillies in the top of the 4th inning in Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. Phillies lead 3-2 and sent Aaron Nola to the mound. We're feeling good. Nola struck out the side in the first. Then bam, bam, in inning number 2, Tommy Pham and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. with back-to-back home runs. Diamondbacks added a third in the inning on an RBI double from Evan Longoria. The Phillies have an RBI single from Brandon Marsh to cut the lead to 3-1. That's where things stand with 1 out in the top of the 4th. Again, if the Phillies win, they repeat as National League champions. If the Diamondbacks win, there will be a Game 7 tomorrow night. There will be a Game 7 tonight in the American League Championship Series, where home field advantage has meant absolutely zilch. The road team has won all 6 games in the series after Adolis Garcia's grand slam capped off a 9-2 win for the Rangers over the Astros at Minute Maid Park last night. Game 7 tonight in Houston. The Astros will turn to Christian Javier, who has a sterling postseason reputation. The Texas Rangers have Max Scherzer, who was not stellar in Game 4, but this is why you go get a Max Scherzer, to give him the ball in Game 7 when your season is on the line. Great drama tonight in Houston, no doubt about it. I don't know that there's ever been a Major League Baseball team to lose 4 games at home in a best-of-7 playoff series more than once. But Houston's already done this before. The 2019 World Series, where the road team won every single game, and the Washington Nationals won games 6 and 7
That's
in
so
Houston.
crazy.
Like, I don't think it's ever happened in the World Series before, but it had ever happened in the World Series before that. I don't know the record of that happening in the championship series, the best of 7 rounds, but I'm reasonably certain, I have reason to believe, that if the Astros trick off Game 7 tonight, that is not a distinction that they want, to be the only franchise to lose 4 home games in a best of 7 playoff series. In fact, I'm not sure of the record of that happening in sports history. Never mind just baseball.
Not a great look. We also get the narrative today of one manager who has never lost a Game 7.
Bruce Bochy is 2-0.
Versus a manager who has never won a Game 7.
Dusty Baker is 0-3.
Never done it.
There was a report, I think it was Ken Rosenthal who tweeted this, that earlier today, Bruce Bochy got a phone call from one of his ex-players offering to pitch Game 7 if needed. That ex-player was Madison Bumgarner.
That's pretty funny.
It is funny. Bumgarner would not get out of an inning. And not just because he hasn't pitched in months, but because he's bad now.
Yeah. Not great.
He would not. I don't think he would record an out. But no, should be fun tonight. Scherzer and Javier, Game 7. Winner goes to the World Series. Rangers seeking their 3rd pennant, 2010 and 2013. And the Astros are seeking their 4th pennant. 5th. 05, 17, 19, 22, and this year.
How old is that franchise?
The Astros, 1962, 61 years.
61 years old. All of their successes come in the last decade. Except for 1 pennant.
You know, there was a great article, and I want to make sure I actually do have this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be their 6th pennant, actually, because they also reached the World Series in 2021. Lost that one to the Braves. Forgot about that one. So,
God, they have won a lot.
They have won a whole freaking lot. It's an incredible run that they've been on. I read an article. It was in the Baseball Prospectus annual guide this year about how expansion teams tend to stay expansion teams for a long time. Like expansion teams come into the league with disadvantages that can be very hard to overcome. And if you look at like the history of every, like from the expansion era onward, 1962 onward, there are like pockets of success for all, or at least most of the expansion franchises. But if you really think about it, it took the Astros 55 years to win a championship. They were founded in 1962. The Rangers, who were founded in 1969 as the Washington Senators, are still looking for their first world championship. It took the Nationals, who of course were founded as the Expos, it took them 57 years, because I think they came in 62 as well. The Mariners in 1977, still looking for theirs. The Blue Jays in 77 had that pocket of success, mid to late 80s through the early 90s, won their 2 titles, haven't been back to a World Series since.
Expos were 69, by the way.
69, okay, yeah. They came in, they came in 69 with the Seattle Pilots.
But still 50 years.
Yes. So Seattle/Milwaukee, still waiting for their first. Colorado, been to one pennant, still waiting for their first. Miami, 2 pennants, 2 championships, whole lot of nothing else historically. Like
the Rays, nothing.
Yeah, the Rays have never won a championship, though they've been to 2 World Series. That's actually, and then Arizona's got the 1 World Series, and that's it. So it's really hard historically for the expansion franchises to sustain success to the point where this is about as good a run as any of the expansion teams have ever had, if you really think about it.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
So,
breaking news for our final headline of the day on our 580 Sports Talk headlines, and this is a bad one for the Kansas City Chiefs. It appears as though Justin Ross has been arrested but not charged in Johnson County today. The official listing, the charge description on his booking information is criminal damage in excess of $25,000, with an additional comment that just reads DV. As far as I am aware, DV only ever means one thing in this context. It's generally domestic violence. I'm not going to say that is what this is because I don't know, but that's bad. If you're Justin Ross and you are essentially barely on the roster at this point because you don't really play a whole lot, they just added another wide receiver. You haven't gotten involved. You didn't play at all last season. For your own career, this is not the kind of thing you want. And if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you can't have another situation like this.
Now, he had actually, I think, gotten about as many snaps in a game yesterday as he had all season. He got 17 snaps, didn't have a target. I guess he had one, but he got called for a kind of chintzy offensive pass interference in the end zone. But yeah, it's not what you want to have your name. You got to avoid the bookings. Like, if I have any advice for any human being alive, it is avoid the bookings.
Mm-hmm.
Just avoid the bookings.
Yeah.
And Justin Ross did not heed that advice. And yeah, there'll be more information about it, I'm sure. We'll probably know more about it by tonight, I would imagine. But yeah, not something the Chiefs wanted to deal with right now with their rookie wide receiver.
If you remember when Willie Gay was arrested a while back, that was the postseason 2 years ago.
Was it the postseason?
I thought it was in January. Maybe I'm misremembering. But when Willie Gay was arrested, it was also involving property damage in the arrest. Gay was charged with a misdemeanor. This is a felony charge, potentially. Given the fact that it's damage of greater than $25,000 of value. Willie Gay, by the way, was suspended for 4 games at the time. I don't know.
Makes you think he maybe totaled a car? Like, if you're doing
Maybe.
$25,000 worth of damage.
Plus, yeah, it could be anything over that.
Yeah, like that makes me think car. But again, anything I could say, I can't say anything concretely, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't want to speculate, but
yeah,
I'm going to guess there aren't many Justin with a Y Ross whose middle name is Ray Sean in Johnson County or anywhere.
No, arrested this afternoon, 2:54, booked 4:27.
Yeah, so this was just over an hour ago he was booked. Bad news for the Chiefs, and that comes mere hours after Andy Reid was talking about how good it is for him to be getting more snaps and more involved. We heard last hour here on the show. Yeah, it's bad for Justin Ross. If we get any more updates before the day is done, we will let you know here on 580 Sports Talk. That does it for our headlines today, though. We'll come on back, talk some college football right after this on 580 WIBW. 9:37 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. He's Dan. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Can you imagine making, what would this math be? Approximately $62 million a year.
Solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It might create some, but I feel like it might, at the short term, solve more of them than it creates. For a humble guy like me, why do you ask?
Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, has signed a 3-year maximum contract extension with the Milwaukee Bucks for $186 million. That is $62 million per year.
Hey, good for him. Good for the Bucks. Good for Bucks fans. Get to keep a star in town for a little while longer. I know there was some consternation about this year and next being the last years before he would hit free agency. And would he want to hang around? And this offseason, they went and got him a second star to play with in Damian Lillard. And apparently that was enough. That was enough of a show of good faith that Giannis was able to sign this. One of the more likable mega stars in sports today. I would wager that if you took like the top line superstars in all 4 of the major sports, he's probably got one of the higher like approval ratings.
Oh, for sure. Of them. Very likable. Every time because he's been in the U.S. for quite a while now, but every time he finds something new about American culture to get into, he is so excited about it. I saw a video a couple weeks ago of him having bratwurst for the first time. It's like, dog, you've been in Milwaukee since 2013. This is your first bratwurst?
It never occurred to you to have a brat?
But you probably don't get that body eating a lot of brats, if we're being honest.
I'll never forget the time he tweeted about trying for the first time a smoothie, except he spelled it with one O, so it said smoothie. And his reaction to trying for the first time a smoothie was to say, God bless America.
Or was it when they won the title or when he won his first MVP? I don't remember, but I remember him celebrating going through the Chick-fil-A drive.
That was after they won the title.
Okay.
Yeah, because he ordered 50 nuggets because he put 50 points up in the clincher.
He's a very likable guy.
Super likable.
I loved the way he handled his business during this offseason. Like, hey, I want to be in Milwaukee. I also want to win. How are we going to make all of these things happen? And Milwaukee got the message and said, okay, what if we gave you Dame? And he said, all right, cool.
Yeah, good for him.
Thank you for obliging me, and I will sign. Worked out pretty well for him.
Good for him. As a Nuggets fan, I say I hope we see you in the finals.
It'd be a fun matchup.
It'd be an awesome matchup.
Be like Godzilla versus Gamera.
I'm for it.
It'd be a lot of fun.
As long as the Nuggets win, I'm all for it.
Shout out to Gamera, friend of the children. College football weekend, very busy weekend. Georgia's number 1 in the country. We ran through the AP poll a moment ago. I think Michigan's the best team in the country. I mean, the way they beat Michigan State, that's like embarrassing if you're Michigan. Losing to your rival who's a lot better than you is one thing. That was embarrassing.
It wasn't the most embarrassing thing that happened in Spartan Stadium on Saturday.
That is also true. Can't put Hitler on the screen, man.
No.
Can't do it. Can't do it. You do not ever need to bring up.
Right next to an ad for a local grocery store chain.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were thrilled. Myers thrilled.
I'm sure. Michigan's the best team in the country, though. I think they've got the best overall roster right now. I think they have a quarterback who is playing like the best quarterback in the country,
Current
J.J. McCarthy.
Heisman favorite, J.J. McCarthy. Not only is he the Heisman favorite, Michigan is now the betting favorite to win the national championship. Although that may have changed in the last couple of hours. I don't know how much the off-field Spygate thing going on, sign stealing gate with Michigan is affecting things, but some pretty damning evidence that old Connor Stallions was buying tickets to future Michigan opponents' games in his own name and having people sit in the stands and videotape the sidelines, which is not great. Like optically, the optics of that, not awesome.
No, not especially good. But we have heard already, right, that they're not going to do anything till after the season.
Yeah.
So if they take the title away later, that's a future problem.
Yes.
That's for future me to figure out.
Yes. The current problem that Michigan's opponents have is that they are big and strong and fast, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways, and they're happy to savagely beat you. And We thought this was a 2-game season for Michigan because the Big Ten is so bad and their schedule in particular doesn't offer much in the way of a challenge. But we thought, okay, 2-game season. They got to get through Penn State, and then 2 weeks after that, they got Ohio State. It's back to being a 1-game season. Penn State is entirely unserious.
I'm going to be honest with you, and I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a really big Michigan fan just on Saturday. He said, is it wrong of me to think that Michigan would just plow through both of these teams? And I told him, like, dude, I think Michigan's the best team in the country, and I think they're on their own tier. Like, why we do quarterback tiers, and Mahomes is alone, and then it's Allen, Burrow, and whoever you want to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're still great, but they're not Mahomes. Ohio State's a really good team. I still think Penn State at their best is a very good team. They're not Michigan. I think Michigan is S tier and they're A tier. They are separate right now.
Ohio State's greatness right now is a little hard to wrap our head around because in recent years, when we think about Ohio State, we think about like offenses that are just off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, large part because of injury and in some part because they've got a young quarterback that you can tell they don't fully trust.
Yeah.
But right now, Ohio State's offense is one dude. It is the man that Gus Johnson decided he would call Maserati Marv for an entire Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr., they built the whole plane out of the black box with the offense with Marvin Harrison Jr. on Saturday. And that was sufficient because Penn State is an entirely unserious football team. I think they got a decent defense.
Good running backs.
Good running backs that they gave the ball to 9 times each.
Yeah, not great.
In a close game. With
a young quarterback.
They made poor Drew Aller throw 42 passes in that game. And he was terrible. He's not it, man. Like I saw enough to know I've seen enough. Drew Aller, like winging passes all over the place. It was bad.
I think the hype train was probably a little too intense with Aller, but I will say that's a tough environment to go into. He's still young. That game plan sucked. You can't leave him out to dry like that if you're James Franklin.
I mean, it's James Franklin, man. This is what he does. This is what he does, and what it has always been when Penn State plays good teams. This is what they do. The numbers, I had them in front of me, and I got to pull them back up here. As it pertains to James Franklin, he's 2-12 against top 25 teams on the road.
Not good.
That's not what you want.
Not good. I'm just going looking at the list of recent Ohio State quarterbacks in this century. You had C.J. Stroud, Justin Fields, who was awesome in college. Dwayne Haskins had one great year. J.T. Barrett was a great college quarterback. Cardale Jones had his moment. Braxton Miller was a really good college quarterback.
Yeah, they've had like dudes under center, and Kyle McCord is just a guy.
He's a lot closer to Joe Bauserman than he is to C.J. Stroud.
It's true.
Yeah.
And like when they played a defense like Penn State's, that meant they only scored 20 points. And when they play a defense like Michigan, 20 points is not going to be enough.
No. A couple of what the hell games from the weekend. You mentioned North Carolina sliding in the AP poll. That's just what they've done under Mac Brown, though. They've got a lot of talent. They're definitely good, but they just have these moments where you think, what the hell is wrong with you? How do you let this happen? It's Virginia. Tony Elliott is a football terrorist. How did you let this happen? And that's just kind of what North Carolina's been. USC losing to Utah and Bryson Barnes, the pig farmer. Utah's tough as hell, and they've got an unbelievable head coach.
And USC is soft as hell.
Yeah, they suck.
That's the difference.
Biggest frauds in America, easily. They're not even frauds anymore. They're like, we all know what they are. Yeah. I wouldn't even say that's fraudulent at this point.
One last college football note before we hit a break that we got to hit. The biggest game of the week. My DePaul Fighting Tigers down 14 in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Rally back to remain unbeaten with a 41-35 win over Wittenberg in overtime. DePaul is 8-0. They remain ranked in the top 25. They got Kenyon next. They're going to walk a mud hole in Kenyon. It's a one-game season for my Tigers moving forward. Monon Bell game, 3 weeks. We got something for your ass, Wabash.
Do they, how do they seed the playoffs for D3? Is it like D2 where they do the regional ranking?
Yeah, it's a regional ranking. Yeah.
I would assume
it's even more arcane than Division 2, honestly. Yeah.
Ooh, don't love to hear that. We do have a break to get to. We'll come back, get you some final thoughts on this weekend's Chiefs win here on 580 Sports Talk. Chargers yesterday, 31-17. Offense was incredible in the first half. Defense was about as perfect as you could ask for in the second half. Final thoughts on win number 6 in a row yesterday.
A name we haven't said aloud on the show today is McCole Hardman, and I want to rectify that.
Yeah.
Obviously had a huge impact on the final scoring drive that salted the game away, not just with his electrifying punt return, but also with a big third down reception as well. Now, under no illusion that he's the missing piece, right? Like, oh, now that they got McCole Hardman, they're going to look like the 2018 Chiefs all over again. But we have talked about the Chiefs. This was a metaphor that I used a couple of weeks ago, that they feel like an offense is still trying to figure out which pegs go into which holes. They know what kind of peg McCole Hardman is, and they know which hole he fits. And I think that knowing that and having just another piece that you can click in makes it a little easier to work around for this offense and find its rhythm. And you could tell how happy his teammates were for him, like Travis Kelce grinning ear to ear when Tracy Wolfson, was it Tracy Wolfson? Tracy Wolfson asked him about McCole Hardman being back post-game. Great teammate and somebody who's got some juice, and I think somebody who's going to help the team a lot, and certainly did yesterday.
I have made my thoughts on the McCole Hardman trade very clear, but I mean, how do you argue with results? Like, I can say whatever I want about the fit and all the other concerns that come with it, but hey, man, it worked. I got really thrown off by him wearing 12, though. I was expecting 17. Yeah. That really jacked me up.
James, I don't think you can trade numbers mid-season.
No, you can't. I really threw me off. But look, it works. And I said this on our post-game show yesterday on our YouTube feed, and you can go check that out right now. It's actually the featured video over on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is what it's called. The channel, not the video. That Patrick Mahomes probably showed more faith and trust in McCole Hardman yesterday than he ever did in Hardman's first 4 years with the Chiefs. But it shows you how close this team is to truly getting back to that kind of offense and to breaking through to the, hey, by the way, we're still the best in the business at what we do on offense phase. Is just need a little bit of trust, and you need just a little bit more cohesiveness. And when you've got so many new guys, it is hard to build that. But you bring one guy back, you can say, you know what? Rice is a rookie, and he's not having his best game, and Watson is hurt, and so-and-so else can't get open. I want to throw to McCole Hardman because at the very least, I know what McCole Hardman is, and I know what he can do, and we're just going to go with that. That may have opened up a huge opportunity for this team to take that next step and get back to that level again. And I never thought that would be McCole Hardman who could do it, but I think we saw yesterday why cohesiveness is A, important, and B, why he brings that back to this Chiefs roster. Chiefs are 6-1, and even after all the consternation about the offense at the start of the year, the week 1 loss, they still have the best record in the NFL through 7 weeks. We have to get to one final timeout. We'll come on back, wrap up 580 Sports Talk with the final word right after this. Let's wrap up this Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word.
We all know the old cliche. If you got two quarterbacks, then, well, you really don't have a quarterback. Well, if I may quote the philosopher Young Jeezy, in Manhattan, that ain't this and this ain't that. What Manhattan has, what the Kansas State Wildcats have, are two quarterbacks you can win with, and what it looked like on Saturdays, two quarterbacks you can dominate with. Will Howard made sure everybody understood that's his team, that's his job. But Avery Johnson is one hell of an X factor that could potentially help swing a game or jumpstart a K-State offense, and it's all to play for. Everything Kansas State wanted at the start of this season, still available to them with 5 games left.
Final word for me is that I appreciate that the Kansas City Chiefs played as well as they did this weekend, because my favorite NFL team sucks. And there's really no denying that they suck at this point. So I appreciate the Chiefs giving me a very nice distraction so I can watch a team that actually knows how to run an offense and tackle and play competitive football. So thanks for that, Chiefs. That does it today for 580 Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow from 2 until 6. Michael Swain will join us as we gear up for KU football coming back this week. We'll also talk plenty more Chiefs, plenty more college football to get to as well. Don't forget, if you missed any of the show today, head to our website, 580wibw.com. Go to the podcasts tab and click on 580 Sports Talk. You can also go back and check out today's show and every edition of 580 Sports Talk in video form on our YouTube channel, which is also called 580 Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow at 2 for Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This has been 580 Sports Talk.